Hello everyone and welcome at Levitov Chess Week 2023 in beautiful Amsterdam. Very rainy outside, a little bit chilly, but inside of this playing venue things will heat it up when we have top grandmasters coming to play the first moves here. Well, I will remind you guys that today we're gonna have 4 rounds and in the studio we are working for you Woman Grandmaster Katie Tazalashvili and Grandmaster Arthur Nations. Hello, Arthurs.
Hey, Katie, once again, and everybody else who is watching coming back after yesterday. Day 2 of the Levitov Chess Week is about to start, and I think that most of you who are not at least following the day 1 of Levitov Chess, we are gonna give you a very quick roundup what happened in the first 5 games. But I think, of course, all of you were watching the finale of the Speeches Championship. I think I'm not going to spoil anybody. Magnus Carlsen emerged victorious in a nail-biting finale. And I just hope that today, also the action from the Amsterdam is going to be quite close to, again, bring back these excitement levels because we have quite a lineup here in Amsterdam.
That's right, Arthurs. Can't wait to see the players entering to the playing venue. Let's take a look the standings after 5 rounds. We do have a sole leader. Levon Aronian is doing amazing. After round 2, he is taking the leader's position. We do have Vichy Anand in a great shape, following very closely, just a half point behind. And we have also Daniel Dubov, Peter Svidler, 3 points. There is a player who is suffering big time in this tournament so vastly, but he managed to win the last round yesterday. He's coming back now with the new energy. It's a new day for him, and we hope to see Wesley at his best, Arthurs.
Right, I think actually Wesley probably was tired because he has played quite a bit tournaments recently. I mean, he did play in the Armageddon Chess Championship finale. He lost against Jan Krzysztof Duda. Then he was playing the semi-final match against Magnus Carlsen. He lost heavily. I don't know, somehow probably together it mounted to this moment. He started it with the wrong foot, I guess. Whatever happened, he started 4 losses in the first day. And then in the end, he managed to take down Jan Nepomniachtchi and at least start the next day on a better mood.
Yeah, that's right. Let's take a look right now at the match formats and look once again what we should expect. The time control is 10 minutes plus only 5 seconds. And we do have double round robin tournament. Arthurs, what does this mean? Double round robin tournament.
I think actually we have to start what means a single round robin tournament before we move on to the double round. So a round robin tournament, it means all play all. If there are 10 players, 9 matches between them. Double round robin, it means you play every player twice, but the only difference is it's not gonna happen immediately. So they're gonna play the first round robin, the first 9 games, rapid games, and then the second round is going to start. So in total, 18 games of rapid time control.
18 games. Truly amazing tournament is this Levitov Chess Week 2023, the second edition. The first edition happened in back 2019. And Arthurs, the prize fund is amazing, 130,000 euro for the tournament, which is lasting for 4 days only. And the champion will get 40,000 euros. This prize fund is amazing.
I think also, Katie, that is big margin from the first to second place. I mean, it's twice the size. It's gonna give the players an extra incentive to take down the first place, or at least in the tiebreaks, because one thing we haven't yet mentioned it, and probably it's still a bit too early to talk about it, in case there is going to be a tie for the first place after 18 rounds, there's going to be a very special tiebreaker, a playoff, in order to fight for the top prize. But I guess we'll simply see after 18th round.
That's right, and we might also see Armageddon, the most exciting part of the chess formats, it's time to get into the playing venue. We have some of the players already sitting next to the chessboards, and the question, is there a dress code violation here? The tournament has a dress code. It should be elegant, casual, which means you can wear suit, jacket, and elegant trousers. Now you tell me, what is this that Mr. Jan Nepomniachtchi is wearing?
I mean, Katie, you're more a fashion expert. I'm just seeing that it doesn't look like a suit to me, really. But yesterday, Nepomniachtchi also was wearing something rather unique. We had a lengthy discussion about wearing pink t-shirts and their effect on Nepomniachtchi's performances. It didn't really help because he had a more or less average day, so to speak, right? So today he's once again wearing something unique. So I don't know. I mean, from these players, Katie, that one player usually who stands out, obviously, that is Levon Aronian, because Aronian is a big fan of proper fashion and his t-shirts. Well, I guess we could talk about it for now.
Yeah, I have to read out one of the comments in our chat. I love Nepo just doing Nepo things. And this is a perfect statement. He knows that's a violation of the dress code, but he goes that he likes it. He feels comfortable. I have seen him doing a lot of things just like this. And you know, artists, they can pay fine for the violation of the dress code. I don't know how the organizers are dealing with this case, but I have seen at the World Rapid Championship, a person was bringing white shirt to Napo to change his very famous t-shirt, this messy t-shirt, if you remember that drama. So, but then on the other side of the camera, we do have Boris Gelfand, dipping his thoughts. He also has quite nice tournament. Unfortunately, there was a bit of drama last round. He flagged himself in a rather equal position. If not totally drawish position, and that's for sure not the greatest moments for the chess players. We do see here Shak just entered with a big smile, and on the side Peter Svidler, also well dressed, against Dubov's very famous Balenciaga shirt.
Indeed, and once again, this tournament is, dear viewers, only the second edition of the Levitov Chess Week. I mean, it started back in 2019. It's organized by the Russian businessman and a well-known person in the chess circuits, Ilya Levitov, who, by the way, runs a great YouTube channel aiming to become the leading source on quality chess in the Russian language. And he is organizing this tournament to honor the playing system, the atmosphere of Melody Amber tournaments, which are organized back in the day. I'm not really sure you remember from 1999 to 2011, there were these very, very special rapid blindfold chess tournaments held in Monaco. And apparently it was the first tournament that Mr. Levitov visited when he was 15 years old, and it held him such an impression that he thought, I mean, why don't I organize something like that myself? I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's indeed amazing thing that happens to chess, and we are also grateful to have such an opportunity to see top grandmasters like Anand, which we have on the screen right now, to play and to show his best. On the side, we have former world champion Vladimir Kramnik just walking into the playing venue. Anand, we have to shout out his amazing play against Vasily So, where he sacrificed first knight, second rook, and in the end he finalized with the queen sacrifice and won the game. That was very stylish game.
Actually, Katie, you know, it just reminds me of this particular quote of, who was it? I think it was Botvinnik, right? I mean, if Mikhail Tal sacrifice a piece, you take it, right? I mean, if Botvinnik himself sacrificed a piece, you think about it and you calculate. If Tigran Petrosian, the former world champion, sacrificed a piece, you resign. And I think in Anand's case, it's quite similar, right? So if Anand sacrificed a queen against you, you just know it's over.
It's over, yeah, that's true, that's true. One of the best games for sure that I myself personally have seen recently. Peter Svidler looks very classy. And Arthurs, we got the information that he lost his luggage and he had to do some shopping before the tournament.
I don't know. Either his luggage was lost or he did not arrive in time. Of course, for casual, regular travelers, you know how it is, right? Sometimes the luggage finds its own way to get to the final destination. But yeah, apparently Svidler, indeed, he bought a brand new suit in Amsterdam, right? So we didn't know that yesterday. Only learned that after the game. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. It's interesting.
But yeah, good shopping indeed. Levon and with big smile and a handshake, they have just started the round.
All right, I think that we are gonna start with the leaders fight since Levon Aronian is the leader after day one with 4 points out of 5. Right now he is playing against Boris Gelfand. Gelfand, of course, I think he has recovered after this unfortunate flagging in the final round and he's looking towards to a great fight. So what we have here is some Semislav structure, quite a famous position.
Okay, we might have some nice chess games, and we're looking forward to see a lot of excitement, some of the amazing sacrifices like we have seen yesterday, and some of the blunders too are very much welcome. I would like to just give a little information for the people who are living near to Amsterdam or they are traveling to Amsterdam these days. They can visit the tournament hall and look closer how their favorite chess players are playing. You guys, the information is on the website. You can take a look. It happens at Astoria Hotel, and you can see we have actually a lot of spectators at this point at the beginning of the games.
It's quite amazing, right? Of course, everybody can follow it on site and compare to the first edition back in 2019, Katie. It was truly a private event. Nothing was coming out. People just basically didn't know about it, except of the ones who were invited. Now, this edition is much more public. They have given access to the cameras and all the games are broadcasted live. And thanks to them, we are able actually to make this broadcast possible. But also the viewers, they can visit this tournament, watch these chess legends play live. But of course, nowadays, in the 21st century, thanks to the provided broadcast, most of the people actually choose to watch it online, right? Because obviously they have live cameras, they have us, the expert commentary, and it's just perhaps a little bit more exciting.
Yeah, indeed. Arthurs, we do have here, Boris Gelfand spinning the queen so fast. Wow, that's a very, very nice technique. That's a very nice technique. I have never seen actually a chess player being able to spin the queen. I have seen pawn. Anish Giri is an expert in that. But Boris Gelfand brings the new level in chess. He's in very deep thoughts, right, Arthur? And this is just a reflection what he's doing, his body.
Right. I don't think that Boris even realized that he has the queen because this is some reflexes that he has trained to do. Actually, it reminds me the poker game, right? That players like to shuffle the poker chips and then, calculate how much to push in the middle. Anyway, let's go back to the position here. After d-takes on c4, what Gelfand is thinking about how to grab this pawn on c4, because this d-takes on c4, I would actually say it's a slightly surprising choice by Aronian, because normally black does not give up the center so easily. So if Aronian takes on c4 and now plays b5, he's thinking about the future ideas to play bishop b7 and c5. But the question is he going to manage to do it?
That's a very good question. White will do everything to stop c5 happening. Arthurs, if black managed to launch c5 safely, that's not a dream position here for white. Then black solves all the problems. Look at this, how fast here Aronian plays. Even the ending bar says like maybe this is not so correct. We can trust him. We can trust that this is his home preparation.
Speaking about the preparation, Aronian yesterday surprised us because he was playing all kinds of Sicilians, right? So first he played Sicilian Tamanov, then he played Najdorf. Being an e4, e5 player all his life, he showed that he could actually play the Sicilian understandings positions. And of course, I believe in the 21st century, playing chess at the highest level, this is simply a requirement. Still, it was very, very nice to see that Levon even despite the fact that this is a more or less a friendly tournament, he's coming up with great ideas in the opening phase.
Yeah, Arthur's with first prize 40,000 euro. I think the word friendly should be missed because this is one of the few tournaments when we have the first prize. And there are prizes even for the last place. So everyone who participates in the tournaments guarantees very least 5K. So yeah, that's indeed amazing. And when we have such a big prize fund, then positions like this happens on the board. So complicated. Look at this, Levon now just decided to open up his king voluntarily, and he has not spent that much time either. He has 10 minutes still. He's still playing on increment. Boris Gelfand seems very confused.
Yeah, maybe let's go back a couple of moves because I think this deserves some explanation why this was played. After b4, idea, I guess, is that after 8x on b4, knight b4, black gets to kill white's light square bishop. After it's gone, c6, c5, black will get two bishops in an open position. So, of course, for Gelfand, this was obviously a big no-no. Knight e4 played. And now the first surprising move, actually, getting b takes on a3. Right, allowing knight takes on f6, and instead of the more casual bishop takes on f6, which is, I mean, something you would expect to be played automatically because it doesn't ruin your pawn structure. Aronian plays g takes on f6, which gives him control of the e5 and g5 squares, but also hands on the platter the pawn on h7. Right? I'm not really sure if bishop takes on h7 is really such a ridiculous move, but I think the point is after bishop takes on h7, king g7, now white simply has to retract the bishop ASAP because f6, f5 is threatening to trap the bishop. Most likely along the lines, something like this was something that Gelfand did not like, and he simply decided, okay, I'm just going to remove the queen.
Yeah, Arthur's, I was just glancing here some of the games if we already had something here, and turned out that there was a game played in 2009, one game that I can see instead of queen to e2, this is something new, at least according to what I have. And in that game, castle was played by white, and black played knight to b4, and black took this bishop on d3, and then kicked pawn on c5, and the game ended peacefully, and it was in the draw. So here Gelfand decided not to give up the light square bishop, yeah, exactly, this game was as just like you are shown right now.
I'm just trying to guess how it could follow.
Yeah, exactly, it was just like this. So Gelfand refute this, and he says, I'm gonna keep the bishop on the board. Now your knight is under attack, and I want my light square bishop because your king is wide open.
Yeah, and this pawn on a3 at the moment, of course, doesn't play a big role because I think it's gonna fall. Queen a5 check. Now that is an interesting check. So Aronian is trying to preserve the pawn on a3 for the time being. I guess bishop d2 is a necessity because queen d2, of course, allows bishop b4 to be played. King f1 just makes no sense. And knight e2, well, it just looks weird. Of course, bishop d2 is played, and now I'm not really sure what black is going to respond. Is it knight b4? Is it bishop b4? Maybe even something like queen h5 looks like a playable move to me. This position, Katie, it's wild, and it's quite difficult to validate properly. Oh wait,
it is very difficult.
It just drops the knight on h6. There's no queen h5. My apologies. Yes, so queen h5 is not the move.
Maybe queen to b6 to save this knight, and also just to keep the eye on knight on a6. There is another move to bishop to b4 to keep the things on this diagonal. That's another opportunity. Black is running out from the moves. There are not too many moves after bishop to d2. Bishop d2, we have a question mark. So that means that there was something better than bishop d2. Perhaps knight d2 was a better move there.
Looks pretty human to me, you know, and I mean, I wouldn't really pay too much attention to these engine moves, right? Because engine sometimes announces that going from a position where you have a slight advantage to a position where you have a slight disadvantage, engine says you're slightly worse. But for a human being, sometimes it just looks so natural that, I mean, it happens all the time, so I wouldn't really worry about it too much. White's position looks pretty much healthy. Black gonna take the bishop on d3 because the queen in a5 is under attack. Black technically still has this extra pawn, but the pawn on a3 is going nowhere at the moment.
That's right. Oh, what a start of a day, Arthurs. What a start of a day. And Levon Aronian, leader of the tournament, he has to keep this leader's position, because this is what we're expecting, right, from him, because he was leader for 3 rounds in a row. He has played amazing chess. And is he wearing Rose's shirt? That's sort of...
I'm gonna have to trust your judgment on this, Getty, because I can't really tell. It looks like a purple shirt to me, so I can't make out the tone.
Wow, but it's also quite amazing, Boris Gelfand, how much he's focused. He for sure is not even thinking how much he's spinning this queen. And this is the full concentration. Very interesting opening. We're lucky to have this. It's not something that everyone plays every day, and we're so tired of those openings, and it's like so equal. But this is something new. It's very interesting. And they are now finding the best moves on the board. Arthurs, they are catching up on time. 6 minutes and 30 seconds against 5 minutes and 30 seconds.
I mean, 95, okay, it looks a bit weird. That's a move I slightly don't understand, because now the question is, what do you do after e4? Right? I mean, e4 is coming with a tempo. There's no knight f4 because the bishop on d2 is defending this square. And do you really want to position the knight on b6 back? And I usually have a simple rule. You don't touch pieces which are well positioned, right? So I think that if I go back a couple of moves here, this move, knight e5, right? I think that knight on b4 stands pretty well. It's an outpost. So with an outpost, we understand a square for your minor pieces which cannot be attacked by a pawn. But the knight on b4 stands just fine. You can secure with something like a5 or maybe even c5. So that's why this knight e5 looks a bit strange to me. And of course, instantly Gelfand responded with the e4. But I'm sure Aronian knows what he is doing and he has some ideas in his mind.
Very interesting game. But Arthurs, we have to switch to the game of Kramnik against Svidler, because it is one crazy game where Svidler's king is still in the center and Kramnik is all about the attack.
Looks like some sort of a Sicilian Najdorf. I think that Svidler also is a great expert when it comes to Sicilians. I mean, he's such a wonderful theoretician and of course also chess personality and also a commentator. It seems that White just pushed f4, f5 a couple of moves ago. If I may, I'm going to go back here, right? So indeed, after knight e2, bishop b7, f5, White sacrifices the pawn on e5 because he is opening up a position. This is where the black king is, and now black has some practical issues to hide the king, because do you want to cast it the long way? I don't think so. I mean, the king looks pretty much exposed there, but you cannot castle the short way as well, because the f-file is being contested. I think this, Ketty, is a pretty dangerous position for Svidler, despite the fact that the bar says it's dead equal.
Yeah, it is. It is. I agree with that, Arthurs. Meanwhile, we have the information that the first game has already ended. Dubov against Vasily. So the game ended in a draw. And that's one good information, that Vasily has not lost the first game today. So very likely he came back very strong today. And he's starting a bit slow and starts a day with a draw. This is the game we need to be focused, right, Arthurs?
I think so, yeah, because definitely Kramnik here has a great attack, right? He has a beautiful knight on d4, which is backed by the bishop on e3. Bishop f6, of course, makes perfect sense. And I think it's safe to assume if Svidler gets the king out of the center and he's about to castle short, and this is what he attempts to do, I think he should be fine. So now the big question is, can Kramnik do something about it? Can he play a move which could prolong the black king's placement in the center? I'm looking at moves like knight c4. I'm not really sure if the king is going to remain in the center after that, or bishop f4, knight e4, something along the way of these lines. Maybe even try to force the queen away from the e5 square so that I could sacrifice on f6, play something like queen g4, and make sure the king remains in the center for a long time.
That's a very nice sacrifice. I love that idea. And Arthur's even white is sacrificing some of the pieces still. 3 minor pieces, queen and the rook, remains on the board, and that's more than enough to annoy black's king. And we can see how confident Big Vlad looks. He's enjoying very much this position. He likes to probably to see a lot of lines here. It's interesting what will be his decision, what will be his next move. I also like move like rook to f4 to go after e4 pawn, the central pawn. There are a lot of possibilities, a lot of candidate moves here for white, and I believe he will put some of his time here at this point, but he cannot think too long. He has only 4 minutes.
Kerry, I just got the word that everything is fine with Petter Svidler because his suitcase has made it to him, right? Because he bought the suit on Thursday because the entire plane didn't get their luggage because there was apparently some airport strike or something. I mean, imagine how unfortunate that is. But I mean, everything is fine. Petter has all of his suits, all of his shirts. Don't you worry about it. He has no psychological discomfort.
Yeah,
everything is good.
Some people might be questioning like why we're so obsessed about this topic, but Arthur, it's very important to feel comfortable when you're playing. There are lots of things you need when you're traveling. And myself, I recently had the situation when I had no bag with me for 3 days. That was a hell for me. It was a hell, and it's for all the chess players. You are keeping some secret things in your bag that you needed for your tournament, and it's very uncomfortable, but it's indeed a good news that now Peter is back in normal situation and playing in this very, very difficult position with black pieces against...
Whoa! Rook takes on f6, get it? Just as I mentioned that Kramnik might sacrifice the exchange there, he did it immediately. You know, if I could, I would just go back here for a move right now. I was looking, I mean, how do you push away the black queen from the e5 square so that you can sacrifice on f6 and play queen g4? And Kramnik clearly thought the same. He thought, but there, right? I'm going to sacrifice the exchange right away because queen f6, there's rook f1, the king still remains in the center, and after g takes queen g4, king f7, rook f1, white's attack continues. But of course, everybody sees the bar, and the bar says, ha ha ha, there's nothing there. Well, I beg to differ.
Well, that's interesting, but with the psychological point of view, when your opponent sacrifices an exchange and your king is exposed, you don't know the bar's evaluation. You just feel that danger, and it's there. Somehow, after rook to g8, now queen has to get back on d1 or on e2, though he keeps the queen on h4, but somehow this attack stopped for the moment, and maybe it's gonna be black who gonna start to push a little bit on g-file with rook to g8 at some point.
That's a fair point. Yeah, rook g6 is not only a defensive move, Kerry, it also is opening up black some opportunities like rook h to g8, attack the pawn on g2. And now that I'm looking at this, I'm not really sure how white is going to add more resources to the attack because you need more pieces. Maybe something like rook f2, knight f1, knight g3, knight h5, etc. Black might have a counterplay with the knight c4. Knight e2 is the answer, so here Kramnik is thinking about bishop d4 and get to the pawn on f6 immediately.
That's indeed very good resource here to attack the pawn on f6, and Peter has to find the way here, and the engine says there is a way, and black is having very, very good position. Shall we still play rook to g8 here? to attack
We
on
have to check
g.
that, obviously. Rook g8, the pawn on g2 is under attack. I think that Kramnik most likely will play something like g3 or rook f2 to protect the pawn, because something like bishop d4, allowing rook takes on g2, it just looks crazy, right? I mean, I could show you very quickly. Bishop d4, rook g2, king h1. If this is not a mate, Kitty, I don't know what a mate looks like, right? You see the bishop on b7 opens up. There's going to be a double check on g1. Clearly not a possibility. So I guess something like rook f2 and keep the threat of bishop d4 hanging in there.
That's right. Another point is that the pawn on h7 is not hanging, is not so bad actually, because then rook g7 comes with a tempo and black is winning the time. Meanwhile, we can see the game between Shahriar Mamedov and Jan Nepomniachtchi has ended. We're gonna get the information, and as I see, Jan Nepomniachtchi won with black pieces.
Right, now the question is, what do we do? Do we go back to Kramnik's game or we choose another game?
That's a tough question.
All right, maybe let's go back to Kramnik's game and see at least a couple of moves. In the meantime, there's no more decisive results because 3 more games are being played. Dubov against Wesley, so it was a quiet draw. This one looks quite exciting. I'm sure also some other games have the tendency to explode because at some point it simply happens. I mean, these players are just enjoying the atmosphere so much that they just want to play memorable games also for the viewers.
That's true, and we can see that they are enjoying it. It's not something that they are making so fast draws. When that happens, you know that chess players don't like to play that much of the games, but here we have not to worry about that.
All right, now the question is, what Kramnik is going to do, Kerry? Is he going to play rook f2 or g3? No, g3 I'm not really sure, because if the knight on e2 at some point is going to jump somewhere further, you might have to calculate some rook takes on g3 ideas. If you play rook f2 and the bishop on e3 goes away, you're going to have to account for something like e4, e3, and the rook at f2 is under attack. Not an easy choice. Maybe also knight g3 is a move. Cover the g file and think about getting the knight closer to the attack. So many choices, so little time to make this right choice.
I agree with that. I like rook to f2. I like also g3 move. G3 has been played. Is that right, or it's our analysis?
Right. No, I think it's
it's our. No, it has been played at g3. And additionally there might be some like knight to f4 jumps later on. Bishop to d4 is still the threat here, and maybe black needs to bring more forces into the game. Let's see.
Right. I also hear there's something happening in Grishuk's game against Vishwanathan Anand. Maybe we can also have a glimpse at that game. In the meantime, by the way, knight c6, Engine says, very, very bad move. I don't really know. Looks very human. Defending against bishop d4, and the position is still a mess. But maybe let's go indeed to Grishuk's game against Anand and see what's happening there. Because the word is that Anand is in some trouble, and I agree. Doesn't look really good for the Indian chess legend.
Yeah, the king is quite weak, and there are the double pawns on a file, which one of those pawns might be lost right away, or white can just play rook to e7 to get this rook on the 7th rank to attack then later on black's king, but rook to f5.
Yeah,
you say that white might just blunder the piece.
Right, you cannot do that. Rook e6 Engines marks as a mistake. Maybe rook e7 was a better, I don't know, looks still pretty human. Knight e4, I mean, look at that sensational idea. It opens up the queen e3 check idea. Now, on seconds, nice. Grishuk has to calculate things precisely because, Kitty, look at this. F takes, queen e3, king h1, queen c2, rook c2 suddenly becomes an idea, and the queen on b2 doesn't really do much. And you have to calculate these things like on seconds. You have to guess these things, calculate things very, very quickly, and that's why they're the best players in the world, because they do it so fast and so precise.
Yeah, I love this move. I really love this move. Although there is a question mark over there, it works very nicely. 19 seconds. Here, Grishuk has to make decision. Not so easy, but it's Grishuk. We have seen him in this condition.
Right, maybe after queen e3, the point is queen f2. Maybe this is something that Anand either has missed or he simply didn't have a choice. I think now queen e3 check, most likely queen f2 will follow on the board, and Grishuk still should keep a considerable edge. All right, now
Yeah.
Anand is to make a move. Now the question is, why is he not playing queen e3 check? Is it thinking about something else? Is Anand thinking about a potential piece sacrifice, f takes on e4,
F
and
takes
perhaps
e4.
try to trap the rook on e6?
Yeah, he might thinking about d takes c4 first. He has more time, and of course he wants to make sure that he's not playing the move that will make life easy for Grishuk, because after f takes e4, it will be more difficult to understand where the bishop goes. While after the check, you have only one move, queen to f2. Anyway, we have this. Black captured the bishop, and white captured the central pawn on d5. If rook c2 now, Arthurs, then queen g3 will be traded. The queens will be traded, and that might be just a risk-free position for white.
Yeah, but of course, I mean, it's still incredibly tricky. So rook c2 is on the board. I'm not sure I want to trade the queens. Queen f4 also makes perfect sense to keep the queens on the board. But of course, since Grishuk is in time trouble, queen g3, get the queens off the board. It makes perfect sense because it's easier to play. But he's suspecting, is it going to be enough? Wow, rook e3, very, very interesting intermezzo move. I didn't see this move coming at all. Queen d4, rook g3 drops the queen. You're going to take the pawn on d4.
Yeah, you cannot do that. Queen to d2 has happened. And we might have here queen trades. Arthurs, we have to get back in the game of Kramnik and Svidler. Something amazing is happening there.
All right. Yeah, we have a hard time to choose indeed, because, I mean, there's action every game. Kramnik's bar says you are done. But the question, Kelly, is where's this rook? I don't see it on the board. Svidler has an extra rook on the board, and apparently there's no mate.
Wait
That's
a
it?
second. What happened? Is it a draw? No, white lost?
I think white is down the rook, according to my calculation. Yeah, there was something which we missed. I'm not really sure. Maybe we were going to have the time to check it a bit later. So Kramnik was going for the mate. Apparently there was no mate, and Svidler does win the game. But let's indeed maybe go back to the game of, again, I'm not really sure, Grishuk against Anand, is it? Right? Because they have this crazy rook endgame, time scramble, and the question is, can Grishuk win this game? Because he has an extra pawn in the rook endgame, but rook endgames, ladies and gentlemen, they're quite tricky.
They're quite tricky and tends to be quite often drawish. Well, 7 seconds for Grishuk, 11 seconds for Anand. Time might be here the key factor in this position. 4 rooks on the board is never a joke.
Right.
They're very tricky. There are some checkmate ideas with 4 rooks on the board. But
extra pawns for white. Yeah, this should be a technical win. I mean, I think that Grishuk is gonna definitely do it. So, I mean, it is possible to misplay it, but there's no tricks. I think he needs to watch out something like rook c1, rook d1, king h2, mate on h1. But
Anand had enough, and he just decided to trust his opponent and resigned here with a pawn down. I would never do it, Arthurs. Just 1 pawn down in the weekend game. But, well, you know, 2 long tournament for 18 rounds. We have last game for today, for this moment in progress. And we have Gelfand against Aronian. What's the situation?
This is what we call a very difficult to hold endgame, because even though the bar says black is slightly better, I mean, this is a position that black can play forever. The pawn on a3 is so strong, white cannot liquidate this position into a drawn endgame, for example, get the rooks off the board and somehow claim a draw in a theoretical obstacle bishop's position. This is not going to happen. Black plays bishop d4. The pawn on a3 is alive, and I think this is going to be a pretty long game. Something like maybe h5, h4, so that the pawn on h7 is not dropping. Get the king closer to the action and, you know, try to trick the experienced opponent in the time scramble. For Aronian Keddy, this is a great chance to solidify his lead in the overall rankings.
That's right. It's a risk-free position for him. He will try his best here, and draw should be just fine for him, as his closest opponent, Vishnyan, just also lost the game. But maybe he doesn't even know about this, because very deep in his own game right now. So we
It's
have.
actually amazing that you mentioned, Katie, that this not awareness what's happening, because I definitely know this feeling, because when you're in the concentration mode, you're playing this game on a time scramble, the seconds are ticking, you feel the adrenaline rush, you're clearly not seeing what's happening left and right,
No.
right? So
You don't
you're
know
playing,
who is around.
right.
You barely see your opponent. You see on the board and a lot of variations.
So
It's
you're
a
seeing right now on the screen, it's Aronian versus Gelfand. There's something like 10 spectators watching this, right? But they're not seeing them at all, right? And after they're going to finish the game, they're realizing there's a huge crowd standing among them and watching.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Arthur, there was a bishop blunder.
Yeah, that's really surprising.
Wow. Bishop blunder on e4. Shall we bring the chess board on the screen and check it out? What was the final blunder? Wow, that was a bit dramatic. Didn't really expect it. Bishop e4 and rook to e3, just lost the bishop on e4.
That is really strange, because I would have thought that Gelfand is gonna notice this. I mean, of course, he's already in trouble because the king is coming to e5, king is coming to f4, remove the rook, give a check on the second rank, the c pawn is rolling forward. But I mean, bishop takes on e4 is just, I mean, immediately ending the game. I mean, probably it's some sort of a hallucination, right? I mean, very often at this level, it is a hallucination because, I mean, they spot something which is not there. Maybe Gelfand thought he gives up the bishop and he eats the pawn on a3. And after he did it, he realized, okay, the pawn on a3 is still alive, so I just hallucinated this. So this happens all the time. Very, very unfortunate for Gelfand.
It happens indeed, Arthur. It does happen. So let's take a look at the standings. If we have some of the changes in the in the standings, or we have the similar picture. We do have new person now joining leaders, and that is Peter Svidler with 4 points. Levon Aronian won again his game and he has 5 points. That's truly amazing run of Levon Aronian. Vishy Anand is behind right now, quite behind of Aronian, because Peter Svidler just stands in between them, and Wesley we have still here suffering, but he managed actually to make a draw. And Arthur, I suggest to take a look at the game of Mamedyrov and Nepomniachtchi, because there was a blunder as well, and we need to check that blunder too.
All right, of course, the action was happening so quickly. I'm not really sure which move to start, so let's just make a couple of moves before. Something maybe around here. So rook c8, white has sacrificed the pawn, he has the darks with bishop on e3, looks a playable position to me. Rook d8, intermezzo move. Rook b1. I guess the reason is that the queen on d2 has difficulties to protect the bishop on e3, and that's why Mamedyrov decided that he's going to make an intermezzo move so that it frees the c1 square for the queen. What did he miscalculate?
Arthur, why not bishop c5 there instead of rook b1?
He just forgot that the bishop on e3 is under attack, Kelly, because he was thinking rook e2, bishop c5, and he's fine. He just forgot that the rook on a3 is attacking the bishop on e3. Oh my.
Yeah, we judge no one, happens to everyone, each of us. Arthurs, what is our conclusion of the first games of day 2 of Levitov's Chess 2023?
Blunders still continue, quite unfortunately for some of the players, but we are seeing a lot of action in Time Scramble. I was very, very excited to see the game of Kramnik playing against Svidler. This exchange sacrifice, it looked really, really interesting. I think that Kramnik slightly overestimated his chances, but again, I mean, he has nothing to lose. He is enjoying this tournament. The result could have been better for him, but for Svidler, it appears that getting his luggage back is bringing also some very good luck for the top Russian Grandmaster.
Indeed. Now, you guys, we are going to take a short break before the second round. Please don't go anywhere, because we need to figure it out who is the chess player who will try to stop Levon Aronian, if there is any at this tournament. So don't go anywhere, we will be back shortly. Welcome back, everyone. This is Levitov Chess Week 2023 in Amsterdam, the tournament with 10 strongest grandmasters. The prize fund is 130,000 euros, and we had already quite amazing tournament and the games. I'm sure my co-host Grandmaster Arthur Nations is also enjoying as much as I do. Arthur's, what these standings tells us.
Right, so Aronian, thank you, Ketty. Aronian is still leading the tournament after a stellar performance yesterday. He bagged another victory, winning the first round today. Better Svidler has got back his luggage and is clearly in a good mood to continue his winning ways. He trails the leader by 4 points. And then we have Anand, Dubov, Nepomniachtchi trailing behind. So Nepomniachtchi, last edition's winner, he still has to show better performance to once again win the edition. But Kerry, I think there's one game of this round that we definitely want to have a look at really closer. And why? Unfortunately, there is a bit backstory.
Right, yeah, that's the story that we can't really avoid to talk, and we can actually start to speak about that as the players have entered in the playing venue. Boris Gelfand and Shahriar Mamedov are the first players who entered in the tournament. Shahriar and Levon Aronian will face each other in this round, and Arthurs, you are referring the little bit tense situation between these two players, the political situation between these two players. And now this is going to be something that we will keep the eye very close.
Right, so we're talking about Aronian representing Armenia, at least being a native Armenian player, and Shahriar Mamedov being an Azerbaijani player. And I just happened to read there was quite some sparks which caused discussions on Facebook, right? First it was Aronian, right? He wrote something about this political situation in Stepanakert, Nagorno-Karabakh region, which is one of the hotly contested regions between Armenia and Azerbaijan, and it sparked some negative feedback from Mamedov, right? He was quite unhappy the way Aronian expressed his opinion, which again prompted Aronian to respond, we are friends, what's happening, you have never said that. But I really, really hope that everything is going to be fine over the board, that there's still good relationship, and it's put behind them.
Yeah, let's cross fingers for that. We can see Shaq on the screen, and he is the first person who went to the playing venue. Arthurs, I am curious. The first question, when I learned that I'll be hosting this event, I was asking myself, will they handshake? Because
right. The handshake is supposedly a mandatory thing, right? Because you are supposed
not
to
anymore, not anymore,
No.
Arthurs. Not anymore, because after pandemic, the regulation has been changed, and now it's up to the players' will. They can handshake and they can deny handshake, and this regulation has never came back to normal as we used to have.
All right. Okay. I guess we are gonna see. I mean, I do hope that they have good relationship because they used to have before. But of course, I mean, well, when you talk about politics, things sometimes get really tense. There you see, Mamedov is waiting for his opponent. Aronian is still not at the board, so I think that you can definitely feel some tension there. But we'll see.
We'll see. They're both okay. We have Svidler entering in the room. We have also Grishchuk adjusting his seat. Almost all the players are in the playing venue. Levon Aronian tend to be the last player getting into the playing venue. He's walking, he greets, and
all right, all is good. All is
Okay.
good. They're the gentlemen of chess, of course, and despite the fact that they had some heated discussions on Facebook, it seems it's put behind them because they're sportsmen, they're the gentlemen of sport, and the game is starting.
Yeah, that is indeed very nice start of a game. We don't need no dramas here. In these between these two, we love these two. Everybody loves these two chess players. They have their own character. They have their own chess career, and when it comes to the chess game, they always show their best on the board. But Arthurs, this game is very personal for these two players. It is extremely personal. It's not just a chess game.
Yeah, it's maybe even more. And I imagine quite a lot of players from Armenia and Azerbaijan are very, very closely following because this game weighs a lot. But speaking about a particular setup, here Aronian has played e4, c6. I mean, I think that Aronian very often was playing English openings and knight f3 setups. Now he aims for the Caracan, h3, e5. Okay, that's interesting. If I may, I mean, if I'm gonna go back a couple of moves here after e4, c6, d4, d5, e takes on d5 carry. This is quite a famous weapon at the highest level, especially at accelerated time control games, because it allows white to build a very simple setup. Again, we are back talking about the cost structure. White is thinking about bishop f4, knight f3, knight e2. And when you're playing accelerated time control games, you want to have your opening as smooth as possible without any heavy lifting.
I agree that that's indeed very good strategy for the player who is leading the tournament, and maybe some rounds you want to take it easy and just to give yourself time to get ready for the next round. But just this is just the start of the game. Should we expect some crazy sacrifices or kingside attacks or whatever sparkling in this position, Arthurs?
I think in an ideal scenario, Katie, what White once again wants to do, he wants to trade the dark square bishops. Let's say we trade the dark square bishops, put the knight on d4, and leave black with a terrible light square bishop on c8. So that's why black plays bishop d6, and he underlines, I don't care about the pawn on d5 because I need my bishops, I need my activity. And look at this move, knight e7, Katie. I think it's directed against bishop g5 because if you would have positioned the knight on f6, bishop g5 is a quite an annoying move because white is threatening to take on f6, ruin white's pawn structure, and now after knight e7, if white plays bishop g5, I think black just plays f6.
That's right, and avoids to trade this knight. Maybe black needs this knight to start to launch the king side attack. When you have the isolated pawn, it gives you so much space, and you can actually activate all your pieces. For instance, bishop to f5 to control this diagonal. Then bishop e4 at some point if you need, but this bishop is already quite nicely standing on f5. Then you can castle. You can play knight to g6, knight to f4, knight to h4. Some sort of jumps out there. That's probably something that Shahriar is looking for, the knight on e7. And Levon takes his time here.
I think actually he's also thinking a bit deeper here because with knight e7 move, perhaps black is also not completely disregarding a long castle. And there's one game, Katie, which immediately jumps my mind. Once again, that's the famous game that Aronian played against Vladimir Kramnik, I think in 2016, FIDE Candidates Tournament. It was a spectacular I think it was Italian game where Kramnik with rook g8, g5, g4 went to punish Aronian's move h3. And now here I can't help but wonder to see some similarity. So maybe black was thinking about bishop d7, long castle, and then in the future play g5, g4. And perhaps this is the reason why Aronian plays knight e4 first, to discourage black from thinking a long castle as an opportunity.
Sorry to interrupt, but it was a draw offer. It was a draw offer from Shahriar Mamedirov on move. What is the move I6? It just, they played move 10. Is that?
Oh.
Let me double check really quickly. Move 11. There was a draw offer, and Aronian takes it.
Well, you know, Katie, I just clap really to this gentleman decision. I think it's a very, very nice symbolic moment, right? Because once again, as you already said, this is much more than a game. It's again a fight between two nations, right? And having a draw, a friendly outcome, I think it's a wonderful message.
Right, Arthurs. I had this question in on top of my tongue. I wanted to ask, like, we have this rule, Sophia rule, that players cannot make draw before 30 moves, but in the regulation there is nothing mentioned about that, and there is no regulation, but we don't have these easy draws, right? So I saw the players' faces, they were not comfortable, and I wanted to ask, do you think they will offer a draw early? But an answer like, no, probably not. And in that second, we could just read, we could not hear the players, but we could see that Shahrir offered the draw and Levon took it. And yeah, this game is done. We have still 4 more games to go, and right now we are focusing 2 world champions facing each other.
And dear viewers, I see what you're saying in the chat, and of course, hello everybody who is watching. Thank you for your positive feedback. I see that some of the viewers were a bit surprised by the early draw. I mean, we already discussed this prior to the game, that there is some political background right now, unfortunately, between Azerbaijan and Armenia. And that's why we felt that it's nice. All right. Now let's follow the next game. Anand against Kramnik.
Yeah, what is happening here? Are we? Should we expect something dramatic here, or the position should be just fine for both players? It looks quite equal to me right now. Queen e2, rook is hanging, and black has to make decision where to bring this rook. But there is no so big weakness in black's position.
And this is also a fight between the 2 former world champions, because Kramnik and Anand, they reigned in the chess world some years ago. I mean, they're of course 2 chess legends. They know each other quite well. They played world championship matches. So, but speaking about the particular position here, I think that black is perfectly fine, and white is dreaming about a potential idea in the future to organize some sort of a king set attack. I don't know, maybe rook e1, e5, f4, f5, and try to get to the black monarch.
Mm-hmm. That's indeed a very nice idea. Rook to b6 was the latest move, and here Anand is still thinking and considering his next move, and he played rook to king to h1 recently. He's preparing some sort of kingside attack, as you mentioned, f4, and
maybe even
so
g4,
on and so
g5,
on.
who knows?
Yeah, g4 is also another idea, and he just needs this king to be safe. So bishop to b4. Now the trade is to take this d2 knight and then to capture the pawn on e4. That's going to be the extra pawn. If you play f4, you might have some consequences after the knight. Bishop d2, knight takes e4. I take the pawn. You have a bishop on the big diagonal, but pawn is a pawn.
Right, and now the question is, how do you protect the pawn on e4? You have the idea to play e5, or you protect it with f3. I don't think that... Oh wait, actually, yeah, the bishop takes on d2, maybe it's not even a threat. Because after queen e2, knight e4, the pawn on a5 is under attack. So this is, again, food for thought. Maybe rook d1 is a move here.
Okay.
All right.
Rook d1, I like this move very much. With the rook d1, you also threat knight c4 to activate the knight and to attack the rook and the pawn at the same time. Somewhere c3 might be out there. So bishop d2 has been played after rook to d1.
It's already on the board, right? Okay, I was trying to understand. Right, so rook d1, bishop d2. Now I'm not really sure. Do you take with the queen or you do take with the rook? Because if you take with the rook, after knight e4, I don't see any immediate compensation. I tried to make some... Yeah?
There is also bishop f6 intermediate move there if you don't want to give up the pawn.
Oh. Right. But then I guess white loses any chance for a potential king set attack, doesn't he? Right? I mean, anyway, the position is pretty balanced. And after rook d1, now Kramnik needs to answer some questions. What is he going to do? Is he going to take on d2?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's really necessary. Gary, do we choose another game? Because this looks pretty peaceful to me at the moment. And I think that Kramnik could definitely invest here like a couple of minutes and still not make a move.
We can definitely choose the next game, and we can go to the game of Napa and Dubov. There is also these two players are always very interesting. We remember the story when Dubov was on a team of Carlsen against Jan Nepomniachtchi at the World Championship match, and there was a bit of tension. But I think for last years they settled down their relations. But do you think that's going to be another draw here in this match?
I'm not really sure. A bit too early to tell, but at least speaking about the position, it appears that black is perfectly fine. He has no issues. So there's no obvious weaknesses. Okay, maybe the pawn on c7, but white cannot get there. Rook f8, rook f4, these are the moves which I see that are possibilities for black. I think actually it's Nepomniachtchi who needs to be a bit careful here. But probably if he plays something like queen e4, trades the queens and plays f3, I think this is getting, once again, to a peaceful outcome.
All right, that gives us a choice to go maybe to the next game and check it out. To my eyes, the most exciting game is Svidler against Gelfand because we do have some like weird pawn structure.
Yeah, it's also quite unbalanced, right, Katie? Because I really love these things, especially when there's, let's say, two knights against two bishops. And at the same time, black's pawn structure has seen better days because here Gelfand has doubled the c pawns, he has doubled the f pawns, but at the same time he has pretty active bishops. And now the question is, who should be better here? I see the bar, of course, says that white has a tiny edge, but is this really the case? I'm not really sure.
Well, that's indeed a very interesting question. Knight to g3 has been played. Black can take this knight and double the pawns on g-file, but then black will remain the rest of the game with the bishop on g6. I'm not a big fan of this bishop on g6. For the moment, it is so trapped, you cannot move away. Maybe at some point, Arthur's white can try to push h4, h5 to create some sort of weaknesses on the king side because black has to avoid a bishop loss there.
I think it's pretty sure we can assume there's not going to be a bishop takes on g3. It's not an equal trade, despite the fact it's 3 versus 3. After bishop takes on g3, if this happens, f takes on g3, despite the fact that white doubles his pawn structure, black is missing his main advantage, which is the two bishop pair. Right, and also the pawn on c5 becomes a weakness. So if Gelfand wants to play bishop takes on g3, he's gonna do it when the things are right. I think that he's looking for some moments to open up the position. Something
maybe
like
c4?
Exactly. C4 somehow, but how do you do it? Right now, of course we can check it, but the point is after d takes on c4, the bishop on d6 is under attack. And do you really want to take on g3 and trade your most important precious bishop pair? I don't think so, and that's why here Gelfand is thinking, and he plays queen b8, not only attacking the knight on g3, but threatening with c4 and protecting the bishop on d6.
That's quite valid move. If c4 happens, then black gonna have more open position, and the bishops will be more active. We have queen to b8, quite normal move. King to g2, also normal move. It's not a blunder or anything. Probably there was something better in this position, but those moves are perfectly fine.
Right, yeah, here now after c4, I'm not really sure if this is yet a good timing for this, because let's say after d takes, b takes, the black queen cannot penetrate white's queen side because the bishop on d6 is under attack. So I would imagine that at some point black is going to include bishop f4 so that the bishop is protected, and then somehow use the bishop pair to create targets at the queen side. But again, the question is, what's the order of the moves? I mean, as usual, the devil is in the details. How do you make c5, c4 work? I think that this is what Gelfand is thinking about.
Yeah, you know, Arthur, what I was thinking in that position, if we have these pawns off the board, there will be a chance to activate the light square bishop. In that situation, you can even take the knight on g3 and then to play bishop to e4 to pin the knight. And to get yourself in the queen endgame, maybe there is more chances there to somehow to annoy the white's pieces.
It definitely could be a possibility. Yeah. So specifically here, probably not, because I don't see how black can capitalize on this pin and white just takes on d5. But in some lines, I definitely agree. So after king g2 here, Gelfand is thinking, I'm not really sure. There also could be some other moves, something like queen b4, offer a queen trade, maybe queen b5, queen a6, try to provoke some weaknesses. At the same time, Svidler also has some ideas, and I think he's thinking about knight h4, knight f5, or maybe the idea that, Katie, you mentioned yourself, h4, h5, and bishop f4 is on the board.
Bishop f4 is on the board, queen is under attack. This queen can find the space to attack the c5 pawn, queen to c3, or queen to a5 does the job. Queen to c3, in fact, is a double attack, Arthur. It's the two pawns on c5 and f6 are hanging.
So queen c3, I think I can respond with something like queen d6 and protect the pawn on f6, protect the pawn on c5. But of course it also means that c5, c4 threat is never happening and white continue with either knight h4, knight f5 or h4. Not really sure which is stronger. I like knight h4, knight f5 a bit more because this knight and f5 is causing the black king to feel quite uncomfortable because the back rank might be something which is going to remind black at some inappropriate moment, as usually it is.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also, you can always reserve this idea h4, h5 in the pocket. Knight to h4 has been played right now. This knight is heading to f5 square. And as you mentioned, this knight can create a lot of threats. And in very, very long lines, there can be even some sort of like very unpleasant forks in the black's positions.
I'm really puzzled to see, Katie, that knight h4 is marked as a missed opportunity. I mean, what was there really? I mean, instead of queen d6 marks as a mistake, and apparently white has something better.
If we make h4, maybe we're gonna see on the board if it's a question, if it's a exclamation mark.
No, it's not h4. No. I'm not really sure. Of course, I can check very quickly. Knight e2. Engine says no. Knight e2. Fine, knight e2, bishop h6, and then what? Okay, doesn't really matter. Knight h4 makes perfect sense. And now here, Gelfand makes a concession. He does take on g3, trading away his pride, the two bishop pair. And now white's advantage is looking more and more real because black has nothing for those ruined pawns, both on the queen side and the king side.
Right, Arthur. Now white will not get this knight on f5 because in that case, Gelfand is ready to capture the knight with the bishop. White has to come back with the knight back on f3 and to find better square for this knight. d4, queen is hanging, queen can go on a5, queen can go on d2 to keep the eye close to the king. And Arthur's, I like the idea of king h2, knight g2, knight to f4 to activate this knight on this square.
Yeah. I think that Svidler's got this. He's slowly taking over the game, and he also senses the opportunity that he could get closer to the leader, Levon Aronian, because Aronian right now stands at the lead in the overall rankings. 5.5 points out of 7. Svidler has, at the moment, how much?
Half a point. He's a half a point behind. So if he managed to win this game, they will tie first, second places. King to f2 has been played. I like that he's keeping the king in the center. And meanwhile, the game between Vasilisa and Grishchuk has ended. That's another draw for Vasilisa.
Okay, so Wesley is shaking it really, really carefully today because, I mean, yesterday the American Grandmaster had a rough start, 4 losses in a row. I mean, probably because of his very tough schedule. He recently was playing in the Armageddon Championship final, lost against Krzysztof Duda. Then he was playing against Magnus Carlsen, the Speeches Championship semi-final. He got crushed mercilessly. Yesterday things were not working for Wesley, and today he starts with 2 draws just to get in the rhythm.
Yeah, that's right. And there's Judith Polgar also at this tournament. We just witnessed her in the camera, and she was observing this game right now. She moves and she's looking at the game of Vishy Anand and Vladimir Kramnik. Unfortunately, we cannot see her anymore, but this is so amazing. She posted yesterday on her Instagram that, guess where I'm traveling? Chess connects us. So Polgar is very much connected, and now we can see her. Greatest female chess player of all time visits this tournament second time. We see some of the photos from the first edition. It seems like this tournament has some very, very strong friends.
Right, and most of the players who are playing here in the 2023 edition, they were also playing back in 2019. If I remember correctly, also Anish Giri was playing back then here. This year he could not play, I guess, because of the family reasons, right? Yuketi already said yesterday he is a father for the third time. So we can congratulate him for this amazing event. Here, Gelfand is struggling. I don't like this queen trade that he did. Queen e1, knight e1, and f6 because his position did not improve. It looks pretty ugly because if white trades on f6 and plays something like knight g2, knight f4 brings the king on d2, it's all but suffering for the Israeli top grandmaster.
Oh, that's right. If the knight gets perfect place and to my eyes, that's the square somewhere a4, a5 to the queen side. This knight can start to pick up some of the pawns. But for the moment, the knight has no perfect square. I don't see how this knight can sneak in. Knight f3, knight d2, knight c4. It takes a lot of time, and bishop can stop that happening, actually.
Right. Indeed. So I just very quickly glance at some of the other games which are ongoing. I try to give you a little bit heads up what's happening. It seems that this is the most exciting game because Anand against Kramnik, it's still a bit equalish. It appears that Kramnik with black has a great position, and also Nepomniachtchi appears to be slightly pressing against Dubov, but it's still within the balance. So I think this is the game we should still follow. Knight f4 is played. Actually, Kerry, there was a very nice trick, if I may. After bishop f7, instead of bishop f7, the question is, can you play bishop d1? This will blunder this. I don't think so. I think you can play something like king d1.
Ah, okay.
And this bishop should be trapped. Maybe it actually is some deja vu game of Boris Spassky against Robbie James Fischer, the first game of the World Championship match, where Fischer very famously played bishop takes on h2, he miscalculated, and Spassky won the game. So you cannot do that. You cannot do that.
You can't do that. And meanwhile, another game ended in a draw. Anand and Kramnik decided to tie their points. So far, we have 3 draws, 2 games in progress. But Arthurs, we're very close to have all draws round.
Yeah, this is the most peaceful round so far because, I mean, in the first day, especially in the first day, I think it was basically every round, 4 decisive games and just 1 draw. 4 decisive games and just 1 draw. And yeah, at some point, those draws are coming, so that's what it is. All right, now the big question here is, can Svidler capitalize on his advantage? I see the bar says it's nothing special. Maybe,
but it's very pleasant to play here, and with the low time on the clock, maybe he will try to outplay. Although he's shaking his head, maybe he's not happy with his latest events that he traded the queens and brought this king on the other side, and black is on time to guard all these weaknesses. But afterwards, if here Peter tries to push more and more, and wait, okay, I'm stopping. They're repeating the moves.
No, I mean, I don't think that Svidler is ever going to repeat a position for a trap-fold repetition because there's literally no risk for him. So he just played knight e2 just to check if his opponent is seeing bishop h5. Okay, he sees bishop h5. Let's go back, play c3, and try to get some weaknesses on the board. So here, I think that Gelfand needs to be a bit careful because the pawn on d4 could become a target. D takes on c3, king takes on c3, king d6 is on the board.
All right. The pawn in game would be very interesting, Arthurs. If we have knight and the bishop off the board, black would have the worst pawn structure ever.
Yeah, those pawn endgames. Those pawn endgames, Gary, I think they're notorious. I mean, we are fascinated by them, and at the same time, we are afraid of them.
Scared of that, yeah.
Somebody said this. The pawn endgames are the easiest endgames of them all. I beg to disagree. I mean, come on. They're the most difficult endgames because the margin of the mistake is so close, right? So if you miscalculate something, you're done. A5. Wow, that's a very committing move there by Boris.
Maybe now it's time to get this knight on c3, somewhere a4, b2, c4, and pawn on a5 will be the threat.
Wait,
under attack.
I don't like this. I mean, I think it was Botvinnik who said it best, obviously, many decades ago. In the pawn endgames, don't push your pawns aggressively forward because they might not go back. And this pawn on a5,
They
I
never
think
go back.
this
Never.
is something that he could regret. I mean, he could regret because the pawn on a5 now becomes a target. And the pawn endgame, I mean, this knight b2, knight c4, I think this is where we are heading. And the pawn on a5 will fall because black is not interested to trade, because in any endgame, white always will have 2 extra tempi to play a3, a4. I know this is probably Chinese to you, but trust me, I don't think that Gelfand wants to go to the pawn endgame here, and instead he's going to try to trade off as many pawns as he can. But the question is, what do you do against knight b2, knight c4, Kitty? I don't really know.
I'm struggling to find out the answer for that. If you push the pawn a4, I'm gonna capture this pawn. It will be double pawns, but it will be a passed pawn, and I'm gonna get the king on the king side of the pawns. That's another weakness, is there, Arthur's, like king to f4, king to g5, and so on and so on. And for instance, if you trade the bishop for the knight, you are having the worst pawn structure we mentioned about that.
This looks quite bad to me. I'm a bit puzzled how Ancient keeps it together. Maybe things are not really so simple. I guess we'll see. And now after king e5, now the big question is, can Svidler play knight c4? Well, it feels to me that it's a move you want to play. No. Svidler plays knight a4. He repeats the position. Apparently things are not really so simple. Okay, now the knight goes back to e2. All right.
Yeah, there was a chance that black could hold the position and white could not went too far, because black's king can also get activated. Bishop to h5. Gelfand is trying to trade the bishop for the knight. So hard. Wait, is there d4 here? d4, pawn takes d4, knight d4? The pawn on c6 is hanging?
I'm still puzzled by this decision not to trade the knight for the bishop, Kitty, because I felt that the pawn endgame should be very close to winning. But then again, I noticed that at the king side, black can also have some extra tempi with h6, h5. And ladies and gentlemen, the pawn endgames, they're all about the tempi, right? They're so precise that you miscalculate something, that's it, you can't take it back. And I think that Svidler simply decided, okay, let's not jump the gun yet, okay? I can always go for the pawn endgame.
That's right, and I believe that Gelfand could just play h6 in that position, king to f6, king to e6, and he could hold the position with these two moves, as there was no breakthrough on the queen side, neither on the king side that strong. And now knight attacks the bishop on h5. This bishop is struggling here in this game very much. c5, intermediate check, king to c4, trying to sneak on b5 square. And knight now is attacking the pawn on c5, and the pawn is lost.
That's a nice track. B takes on a4 is going to be bishop f7 check, not bishop takes on a4. All right, knight takes on c5, takes. I think it's a draw. King e5, f4 is incoming. I don't see how white is going to win this, because black's task is really simple. You want to trade every single pawn off the board and then give away your bishop on e8 for the remaining pawn. I think it's a draw.
King e5 is a strong move. Boris Gelfand, he knows the business. He is so strong in the end games.
You gotta play g4 here. Yeah, he played g4. You have to keep those pawns on the board. The black pawn on the 4 doesn't go anywhere. So Svidler, I think he suspects this game is heading more likely to a draw, but he tries to make the game as complex as possible. Bishop b5 check, king d2, king d4. Yeah, so draw looks quite inevitable, at least at this level.
Looks like black's king is so active in the pawn on f4 now. Takes all the attention.
Whoa, f3. Why would you give up the e3 square for the white king just like that? Okay, this is a move I don't understand, and the engine marks it's a big mistake.
He wants to play king f4, f2, king f2, and king f4 to just...
Wait a second, but now your king is going to be cut off. I can play g5, king g4, king e3, king h4, king f4. And maybe you're not going to trade the pawn. And this is exactly what Svidler plays. And now I think that Gelfand realizes that things are not really so simple. Why do you give up the pawn? There is no reason to do that. But again, he's playing on seconds. It's easy to criticize. You have to make your judgment call very quickly. King h4 king f4 is on the board.
Nice found here by Svidler, this king opposition, And now he will try to push the pawn forward. Black can't really stop that happening. B4 is coming, 96, 94, then B5 will come. Black is trying to push H6 on time. 94, knight F6 now is a threat.
Well, that was once again a missed opportunity. So Gelfand allowed, I'm sorry, not Gelfand, but Svidler allowed the black king get in the game, and now once again it's a draw.
Yeah.
I think it was very important.
Arthurs, where is the bar? Engine bar just decided to disappear?
No, I think here Svidler made a mistake. B4, I had a feeling you had to stop this idea. King H5, King G6, H6, trade the pawn. You had to dominate the king. Now instead, Svidler, I think he forgot. He pushed forward the B pawn and he allowed black to get in the game. And now, yeah, after knight F6, something like bishop B5 with H6 to follow, I don't think that Svidler can win this anymore.
Yeah, he's trying still, but the H6 is the very strong weapon here. For black, and you cannot really stop that happening. And the B pawn and the G pawn are very too far. Knight cannot just, divide into parts and help G pawn and like stop H6 happening and also push B pawn forward.
Indeed, it's a table-based draw, as our dear viewers are announcing. Yeah, thanks to the amazing development of chess. I mean, dear viewers, do you know what's a table base? Those are the positions which are calculated by force by chess engines, very strong chess engines. So right now, the strongest table base we have is 7-piece table base. So 2 kings, bishop, how many pieces is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, this is clearly calculated. You don't need to switch on the engine. You just find a table base, you insert a position, and it's already been calculated. Up to 7 pieces, these are called table bases. They already, all of the physical potential positions have been calculated.
And we have a draw here. Arthur's, we have all the boards of the board here. We have a big smile and the handshake. Svidler must be very disappointed. He had a chance to catch up the leader. He had a chance to win and convert this position. We saw on the background that Jan Nepomniachtchi walked with his glass of water, and guess what? He's the only hero of this round. He managed to win the game against Dubov, and we see here a very lovely hand wave and the hugs. Gelfand and Judith Polgar. I can speculate that they have been worked a lot for a lot of tournaments together, and they know each other quite well. So this round is done. Let's now take a look at the standings. If we have some new players at the top of the list.
All right, so Ronian is still leading the tournament with 5.5 points, and Svidler is going to regret this choice, get closer to the leader, because he was winning, and I'm gonna show you very, very quickly his missed opportunity before we go into the break. Still, Svidler is in the second place with 4.5 points. Anand, Nepomniachtchi, they're trailing behind, and it's Nepomniachtchi who actually won his game against Daniil Dubov. This allows him to climb half a point closer to the leaders, and on the bottom of the field is Wesley So, who has made 2 draws in a row, and he's trying to gain back the pace.
Right, so interesting. Last time we went to the break, we left the question. We left with the question if someone can stop Levon or Ronian, but well, Levon responded. Now I am 1 point ahead of the next second place, and it's gonna be very, very difficult to catch me. You guys don't go anywhere, because we will be back with 2 more rounds today at Levitov's Chess Week. Welcome back, everyone, to Amsterdam for Levitov's Chess Week 2023. 10 Super Grandmasters fighting for 130,000 euro prize fund, where the winner gets 40,000 euros in the studio. We're working for you, Women Grandmaster Kedi Tatalashvili and the Grandmaster Arthur Nations. Arthur, we have seen so far quite amazing games.
Yeah, indeed, the games do not disappoint, Kelly, and we have still 2 more games to go of the double round robin tournament between these 10 invited Super Grandmasters. We already discussed it before the break. There's also some very notable special chess legends attending the scene, like Judith Polgar. Again, like this tournament is not just a tournament between the highest level chess players. It's also a nice way to spend time with good people. And
in a rainy day.
Yeah, in a rainy day in a beautiful Astoria Waldorf 5-star hotel in Amsterdam. And the organizer Ilya Levitov is organizing this event thanks to his childhood experiences that he saw in the Melody Amber tournaments, which are discontinued for the moment. I hope they're going to come back at some point later. And it's really nice to see players of the highest caliber playing in such great conditions.
That's true. And we see here the playing venue and 2 players chatting before the round. That's Kramnik, who just handshake and greet his opponent, Jan Pomnishi, and on the side we have Daniel Dubov waiting for the round to start. We have Shaq just casually walking in the playing venue, and then we had Vishy Anand also entering to the room. So now we have Jan Pomnishi.
He is smiling. He is in better mood, and he's playing against his countryman, a chess legend Vladimir Kramnik. And I think this is also the game we're going to start. And of course, I think that Jan has all the reasons to be happy because finally he won a game. He's the reigning champion. He won this edition back in 2019, and winning against Daniil Dubov again allows him to climb closer to the leaders, who is Levon
Aronian. Yeah,
right.
Talking about the leaders, let's take a look once again at the standings at this point and check out where Vladimir Kramnik and Jana Pomnishi stands. And we can see that last turn against Daniil Dubov brought Jana Pomnishi at the top boards, and he is now sharing 3rd to 4th places with Vishy Anand, and Vladimir Kramnik is not having such a great day today with a 2.5 point. He is at the 9th position at the moment.
Yeah, quite disappointing start so far, but okay, I mean, obviously the tournament is still long. This is only round 8 out of 19. We still haven't even completed the first half of the tournament, and everything can still happen. All right, Kitty, now the question is, what do you think? What kind of opening will be played in this? Okay, there you go. They already played d4, c5. I just want to make a contest here. Try to guess. But okay, maybe another time.
Yeah, try to guess was a bit too late. And we do have Sicilian, where Jan chooses to go with c3, the sideline. And this is actually quite promising to be a very sharp position. Arthur's. But they're playing so fast, they know all this theory by heart. And I love these positions very much because the pawn on e5 kicks the knight out of f6 square, then this bishop gets later on d3 and looks for h7 square, there might be some unpleasant king side sacrifices.
You know, Kerry, I mean,
I think.
I've been playing the Sicilian Paulson all my life, and if you go back from the start, once again, it's e4, c5, knight f3, e6. I know about this quite a bit, right? So Black is aiming for either Sicilian Tamanov or Sicilian Khan. And I can definitely tell you for sure, seeing the move c3, it feels like a dagger in the heart, because very often it goes to some a bit boring Lapid-like structures where Black has committed to e6, and there's nothing dynamic about this position. So that's why I'm a bit surprised to see that Nepomniachtchi went for this, right? After c3, knight f6, e5, knight e5, d4. White has some space advantage, Black is super solid. But okay, I mean, we are gonna see. b6, Kerry, this is a move I've played myself many times. And the idea is to position the bishop on b7 as quickly as possible. Or if white is careless and takes that knight on d5, then after e takes on d5, bishop a6 might be a rude awakening for Ramek.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting. Let's see how this game will develop. But in the match between Anand and Aronian, they were not afraid to go to the main line of Sicilian, and we have that on the board. It's interesting to take a look at that game, as Aronian now is a clear first place and Anand is sharing the third place. Shall we take a look at that?
Sure, let's indeed do that. Knight c3, by the way. Anand against Aronian. Yeah, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. All right, so what do we have here? Najdorf. We are Najdorf, and the English system, it's been around for a long time, and I do believe, getting one thing, if you're looking for action, if you're looking for ways to organize a sharp attack, you need to castle the other way. So this is exactly what White is doing. He castles the long way, Black is castling the short way, and this opens both players chances to do some dangerous things at the other side. So obviously Aronian is thinking about b4, a5, a4, open arc the queen side, and Anand, on the contrary, is thinking about the king side, something like g5, maybe knight e5, h4, h5, g6, and get to the opponent's king.
Sounds like a good plan here. If only white plays right, you just attack, you play all these moves and kick the pieces back. But Black's counter-attack on the queen side is also quite dangerous. There have been some ideas like rook to c8 to sacrifice this rook, or even to somewhere push d5 in the center, or b4 to kick this knight out of c3 square. There's also knight c4 jumps after rook to c8. So a lot of ideas. Latest move, knight to a5, creates a threat of knight to c6, and it's a quite evil threat here. After knight c6, Black will lose the piece, so that's why queen c7, stopping knight getting on c6 was the move of Levon Aronian.
If I'm not terribly mistaken, I think indeed the move is g5 and knight e5. This is how they play out this position. Let's say g5, knight h5, knight e5, and then whatever. Is it knight e5, e takes on d5, and bishop goes either to 5 or d7. And now you see this knight on a5 actually does something else as well, because it might be jumping to c6. But probably, the most important quality of the knight on a5, it simply blocks these pawns marching forward. So the knight on a5 is serving two functions at the same time. It's attacking and it's defending at the same time.
I like that knight, and thinking of that and listening to that, I was thinking maybe bishop to d8 is the move that Black has to consider to kick this knight out of a5 square. If knight goes back on b3, then you can somehow start to attack the queen side with a4, a5, and the white pieces are just like, they don't have enough space. And there is also, with this knight on h5, this attack on the king side, just a delayed a little bit.
But I think it's also quite sensational. We have to mention that Aronian is playing Najdorf again, right? I mean, he used to play e4, e5 all his life, and now he's playing Najdorf. He is playing Najdorf against one of the best players in the world, the former world champion. He's not afraid from the hostilities.
Yes, guess who got the Najdorf chessable course?
Do you think it works like that? I mean, at the highest level, right? For example, Ronin is thinking, okay, I don't have any
These guys
knowledge
know everything.
of
These
the
guys
Night
know
Elf.
even my game. This is ridiculous, Arthur. So
I
I
should
would
get
not
Gary's
be,
course.
I would not be surprised if they have glanced at the several chessable courses.
Maybe, but it is of course a possibility. But I've noticed one thing. I happen to play against some high-level players, and very often they have their own analysis, right? And I remember I once had this discussion with Ari and Tari, right? Norwegian number 2 behind Magnus Carlsen. He's 2660. So I played against him, Sicilian Khan, and I said, listen, I have written this course on the Khan, on chessable. He said, yeah? Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not really sure that Aronian is really exclusively following Gary's course, which is still great. But I mean, whatever. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that this promises us some exciting action.
Some fun indeed. This is a position here. Ronin is not in rush to move the bishop away, and Arthur's the time is ticking. He has 6 minutes and 30 seconds, and Vichy has very comfortable, almost 10 minutes still on the clock.
All right. Bishop d7 is played. I think, Eddie, you're right. Bishop d8 could be a threat. So if I was white, I would be thinking about something like king b1 because it's a move that you normally want to play. And also look at the qualities on the knight on h5. I mean, you could argue that the knight on h5 is not doing anything, but it's quite paradoxical. Man, look at this, Kitty. The knight on h5 is stopping white's attack at the king side. The white knight on a5 is stopping black's attack at the queen side. It's quite
That's
unique.
amazing discovery, Arthurs, when I learned that I can stop this kingside attack that I was always scared of my life with after g5, just to play knight h5. I was always going to the other side on d7, and this is such a nice
Right,
resource
Kenny,
here.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I get a word that something crazy is happening in Danil Dubov's game, so let's immediately go there, because what on earth is this? Some weird Catalan? Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Now that is vintage Dubov definitely here, right here, because Dubov is one of the most creative players in the circuit. What is this? What's the material balance even?
Shall we very quickly just take a look what happened in this game? How they reached the position?
Very quickly from the start, right? Because this game is exploding as we speak. So indeed, the Catalan. Queen c2, a6, a4, this is theory. Let's not dwell on this too much. Rook d1, okay, that's an interesting move. I don't think I've seen this. Bishop g5, b5, knight c3, knight e5, h4, a trendy move in the Catalan. Bishop e7, queen e7 looks normal. This looks... Oh! 8x on b5, 9x on c3.
And Dubov just decided to capture the bishop on c6, give up this rook, and to play knight e5 to maintain the pawn on c6, which, by the way, stops knight on b8 from development.
I mean, how about a positional rook sacrifice? Kenny, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, we have talked about positional pawn sacrifice. We have talked about positional exchange sacrifices. Now Dubov takes it on a new level and he introduces us to a term, a positional rook sacrifice, because that's what it is.
Yeah, Dubov is a very special kind of character, chess character indeed. Very interesting, and he has always tons of ideas. I was always wondering, Arthur, is he coming up with these ideas on the board, or that's his preparation?
Well, I think the answer is on the clock. 10 minutes and 31 seconds, right? Because the players are playing with the time control. 10 minutes plus 5 seconds, so 30 seconds, basically more time than on the clock. And Dubov is just firing out these moves, and Grishuk must be feeling the heat, right? I mean, he's not playing against Dubov, essentially. He's playing against an engine right here.
Strong engine. Strong engine. This position, I love this position. I have to watch again the moves, how you can get this position with white pieces in Catalan. Look at this one. Rook to b5, attacking the knight on b4, chasing this knight. What should black play? Maybe knight d5 to at least trade one piece?
Maybe rook b8 as well. I mean, but again, rook b8, you need to calculate what happens up to like rook b7.
How about rook b7? Yeah, rook b7, knight d7 sort of ideas.
No, this pawn is about to promote. It's just one step away to put a new queen on the board. Probably something that black is not willing to happen. Not willing to see it happen on the board. So maybe knight e5. Give up another pawn. Something
And
like
get the
knight.
bishop. The Catalan bishop should be off the board here.
Right. I mean, but who says that white has to take after knight e5? I mean, this is insane, seeing Dubov in action, because, I mean, his analysis is one of the best in the world. I think guys at this level, they know. And but there's also this moment, Kerry, because Dubov is also quite known from extending his preparation to a bluff. And you don't really know when Dubov's preparation finishes and when the bluff starts, because when you play out very quickly, your opponent still suspects that, oh my goodness, my opponent is still within the prep, right? So you can see that Dubov is right now spending the time and he's thinking what he's going to do after any Grishik's move, because in case he continues very quickly, maybe Grishik will be hesitant to respond immediately because he suspects perhaps Dubov is still within the prep. Such a tricky moment here.
Very tricky moment. Arthurs, I want to suggest something very crazy. Can now Dubov do another Dubov stuff and sacrifice another exchange here? With the idea that after pawn takes on d5, bishop takes on d5, there are some pressure on f7, but there's knight g6 idea too, and I love that. But then I just saw the king on f2. It's too open, and there are tons of check, and this is just not happening.
I'm all for spectacular moves here. I'm not really sure if this is gonna happen, but
no,
no,
for
you
sure
don't think
not.
so. You don't think so? Okay.
No, that's. The white's king is too exposed. If white has the king on g1 and pawn on f2, maybe we could see more fireworks, but I think we have already seen enough here.
He just takes on d5. Dubov is being the pragmatic player. And actually, look at this. Rook takes on d5. He has also the idea to play rook d7. For example, if I'm going to play something like queen c5 and black thinks about rook d8, my idea was to position the rook on d7. And perhaps, once again, we are going to talk about the great qualities of a strong pass pawn on the 7th rank.
Wow. What a nicely done here by Daniel Dubov. For sure, this was his home preparation. Grishik knows that he just walked into his preparation. But what the position says itself, white has 2 pawns for exchange. That's more than enough, Arthurs. And very strong pawn on c6.
Yeah, and rook d7 is played. This means that Dubov doesn't mind trading the queens. The position, the bar says it's about balance. I think that Grishik is in a great danger. Not only because of the clock, also the position. For example, something like queen c4, knight takes on c4. Gary, once those pawns start rolling forward, for example, something like rook c8, I'm going to play, I'm not sure what's going to be the right move, d5, d6, b4, b5, b6. If these pawns get closer to the queens, it's game over.
King e3, king d4, king c5 to help with that. It's also the other choice. We can see Grishik, he is very disgusted with this, what just happened. I would love to hear some interview after this game from Grishik. For sure, he has some story from his side to say about this position.
Yeah, so he keeps the queens on the board, and of course it makes sense because the white king is slightly weakened here. Yeah, rook c8 is a sad necessity. I guess the bar doesn't like it much. Well, I don't know what he could have done. I guess he could have maybe sacrificed the pawn and go for the activity. Easy to tell.
Maybe before b5 now would make a lot of sense to keep this pawn into the action, and black cannot really do anything against that. You cannot really stop, or white can also push the other pawn on, d5, maybe somewhere even e4. But Arthurs, I really think that white should not push too much these pawns forward, like at least to keep the pawn on e2 closer to the king to guard white's king.
Right. Yeah, this looks really ugly for Grishuk, and excellent chances for Dubov to get closer to the leaders. Rook fd8 is played. Now rook takes on d7 is a threat. But I don't think that white really minds to trade the rooks, right? Rook d8, e4, b4, b5. These pawns are so powerful. It's going to be very difficult for Grishuk to save the game. Only 40 seconds on the clock.
Very interesting.
Shall we change to
Dubov
another
has
game?
to.
Because I have a feeling that here Dubov is cruising towards a victory.
We can check the game of Svidler and Mamedyarov. There is very interesting situation in that game as well.
Okay, this is even better because once again we have some craziness on the board. What is happening here? Wait. Takes on c1, takes on c1. It seems that we are heading for a position where a black will have a rook and a couple of pawns for two minor pieces and pretty exposed white king. So the last move was bishop f2. I think we have to go there.
All right, bishop f2, the strong move.
Quite a nice idea, I guess, after king takes on f2. Black plays... Why not rook c1 though? I'm slightly puzzled by this. Okay, weird. King g2 instead is played. What? Oh my goodness.
Oh.
What we just saw? Just a second, 97. So white is going for a mate.
Oh, checkmate. Wow. What a nice idea, 97.
I think this is beating Dubov's game. This is essentially becoming the game of the round. I mean, look at this once again, Ketty. I mean, this sequence, this entire sequence, there was more than that before. So, bishop takes on f2, wins the rook on c1. Here, Svidler sacrifices the rook. Again, a positional rook sacrifice. King g2, rook takes on c1, 97, threatening with a mate on h7. You cannot take on d7. Now, black responds with g6, and there's gotta be some powerful response. I mean, which is... I mean, there's knight f8, there's rook f2, there's so many pieces hanging, literally.
Everything is hanging. And there might be some calm move like queen to d6 or something winning the game and winning this position. That could be ridiculous as well.
Rook c1 is a move. Rook c1, queen c1, knight x on f6, and rook c1 is on the board, and engine marks. That was a missed opportunity. And what was it? There I checked the engine. The engine says rook takes on f2 was the move. And after 97, queen d7, white would keep the better position because he has very strong attacking pieces here. It's about material balance. Apparently,
knight
rook
f7
takes...
is a threat.
Right, this was a missed opportunity. Again, a missed opportunity for black. But again, in such complicated games, it's so easy to make mistakes.
How bad is this though? Like, still white has very strong pieces and the king on the... king is weak on the dark squares. Is there somewhere like knight to h5 checks?
Yeah, I saw this check, but I'm not really sure where this leads because you could still take it. You could play king h6.
Yeah, very complicated game.
Maybe there's even no need to do that. I mean, I could play knight e7. Knight h7 is also a move. I mean, just grab the pawn, think about queen d7 ideas, attack on f7, the bishop on f2. Oh, by the way, Kitty, the bishop on f2 is still under attack. I have a hard time to keep of these hostilities. And these players, they have to make the decisions on seconds. And Mamedyarov, Kitty, Mamedyarov is down on 10 seconds.
No, that's not the greatest moment. He has to make a move. He has to find any move now. Two pieces are hanging. He's struggling. Queen g1. He found the check. King goes on f h3. There is another check.
Looks human to me. Engine doesn't like it. Rook h8. Now pins the knight on h7. Now the question is how white continues. Queen c3 check. Maybe there's bishop d4. You cannot do that. Queen c3 otherwise would have been a very powerful move. Now what?
Oof. What's
so
this?
Rook h8. And, you know, it's very often like this, Keddy. I mean, you start with fireworks, and in the end, it somehow fizzles out to a draw.
Yeah, that's right, because they're playing the great moves both sides. So now Shakur decided to give up the rook for two pieces and to give up to have more peaceful position.
What is going on here, just a sec? I don't even understand what's happening.
King g4?
The black queen is under attack. Rook takes on h7 check. White gonna take it. White plays king g4. He's threatening. Queen takes on f7. The bishop on g2 is attacking the queen on f1. Another check. Bishop f3. Wow. You know.
No more checks.
No more checks. That's it. No. What?
King h6.
Oh my goodness. King h6 it is. Bishop e2, f5 check, and the queen on d7 is under attack. I mean, this must be feeling like a cold shot for Svidler. Oh my goodness. Somebody please
Whoa.
annotate this game because this is completely crazy. I mean, Dubov's game, that was
What is
nothing. This is the
happening
real deal.
here? King h6, the best move. We have pieces of the board now. This looks still not over. The kings are still in danger. White's king is still in danger.
All right, and still probably it's going to end with a draw. It's
Yeah, and the other
unbelievable.
game has also ended. They are talking, maybe that's also ended in a draw. We don't know yet.
I just want to stand
Look at
and
this
applaud.
laugh. Look at this laugh. Svidler, he cannot stop laughing. He cannot stop himself to laugh. What a game. Incredible. We have to shout out to Shahriar Mamediyarov, who found the best moves to keep the game on.
Wow, that was insane. You know, it definitely marks the game of the round, if not the game of this day so far, because the tactical possibilities by both players, finding these resources by Mamediyarov on seconds, that was the world-class chess right there. And they're showing why the best players in the world, because, I mean, come on, Kerry, this queen sacrifice, that was something. That was something.
Yeah, and that was indeed very, very beautiful. Maybe we can have later on some time to take a look at give more time to that. Meanwhile, Dubov won the game. Grushuk turned out to be flagged. See, Arthurs, he was doing this all the time for his chess career. He likes to drop his time on seconds, and today he got flagged.
Yeah, but I imagine his position already was lost, right? So there was nothing he could have done, thanks to a superb preparation by his countryman. But let's go back to the game of Anand against Aronian. Aronian is the tournament leader, still Anand in quite a hot pursuit. So a game between two chess legends. They know each other quite well. Of course, everybody knows each other here at this level. White appears to be having a serious advantage. Not only he has an extra pawn, Black's attack at the king's side, at the queen's side did not really go through, and White also has the bishop pair and more time on the
Very
clock.
strong bishop pair. That's right, and some of the weaknesses in the Black's position as well. Those pawn right now on c5 is simply captured. If the rooks are traded, then bishop takes, and bishop d6 would be the threat. Now we have rook to b3 attacking the bishop on e3, but there is this bishop on d8 struggling, right? Can White do something about that?
Actually, this was a very nice move by Levon. Rook b3 attacking the bishop on e3, because the last thing that Anand wants to do is to take on f4. This bishop on e3 controls so many dark squares, and if you take on f4, not only you hand on the platter all the dark squares for Black, imagine Black positioning the bishop on e5, but also this pawn on f4 becomes a monster. So the question is, what here the Indian super grandmaster is going to do? Rook a5,
G3,
probably.
perhaps? Okay, fine.
No, I think he did not yet play it. Rook c3 is on
Rook
the board.
c3 is his move of choice here in this position, and he's keeping the pieces on the board alive. Both bishops still are alive. This pawn on a3 can be captured, but Arthurs, I don't think Vishanand is afraid of
No,
that.
I don't think this pawn on a3 really matters at the moment. I think Anand is thinking more about creating two strong connected pass pawns in the center. So if he could give up the pawn on a3 and play c4, c5, he would do it in a heartbeat. He can't do it, and that's why he plays king b2, just in case, protects the pawn on a3. And I think bishop c5 will be played by Aronian at some point, because this knight at f4 is clearly a stronger piece than the bishop on f1. But it's these pawns getting in the center which really matter.
That's right, and after pushing these pawns, then dark square bishop, light square bishop will also get more activated and will have some targets in the position. Arthurs, I think White has to bring the rook on the other side of the board, because it's like sort of stuck here on the king side.
Can I castle to b1? I guess you would have
Castle
castle
with
with the
your-
bishop, yeah?
Bishop, yeah.
All right, you cannot do that. Bishop d2, bishop b4, this is what Anand does. Great move, I like that, because it allows him to think about pushing c4, c5 later. Bishop b4, I think Anand has got this. He has got this. And the Aronian by the face, he already knows, he's beaten. Yeah, so of course he's going to try to
Not
fight
very
until then.
pleased. He's not very pleased. D6 now, at king the bishop, then c5, and those pawns will be unstoppable. They can just roll. C6, C7, and so on and so on. Very difficult to stop them.
Right, 93, of course. Aronian is seeking some final tricks. I think bishop takes on d3 is just winning. Oh, no, 95 instead is played. Maybe he wants to give away the knight for those strong pawns, because these pawns on c6 and d6, they're clearly worth more than a piece, and that's why Anand plays bishop c4. He says, I don't want to allow you to give away the piece just like that.
A very brutal decision here. Knight is kicked on b6. Bishop to e6, just squeezing the black's position even further. Bishop c5 now attacks all the pieces on the board and pins the knight, rook, and the pawn on e3 is also threaded. Anand is still thinking. He has not made a move. c7 is his move.
Now, this game is over. There's no chance that the Aronian can save this. E4 check, bishop c3 is going to seal the deal. You can already see that Anand expects. I mean, I've got this.
Where's the queen? He was looking for the queen. He wants to promote this pawn.
So these pawns on these pawns on e4, e3, they're not going anywhere because the square on e1 is well protected. Bishop h4. Yeah, Aronian tries something here. I believe there's more than one victory. Rook g4, rook h4, rook e4. Great move. That should be the final move of this game.
That's true. Seems like Vishy Anand just managed to stop Levon Aronian. And this is the first loss for Levon Aronian in this tournament. Arthur's very nice game. It's so tough to name the game of this round.
I'm gonna name it still. I'm still gonna name it, and it's definitely Svidler against Mamedyarov. You know, Kenny.
I would go with Dubov, Arthur.
You'll go with Dubov. I don't know.
You know why? Because this game of Svidler Mamedyarov looked to me like one of the books of Dvoretsky, when you need to have 10 heads to understand what the hell is happening there. It's too heavy, too many moves there, too crazy. And you don't have a full picture, you know? After each move, the position is changing, the situation is changing. It was too much for me. And Dubov, he did his business perfectly well, starting from the beginning until to the end.
Yeah, but I hear that there was also a huge blunder in Kramnik. Kramnik's game with black against Jan Nepomniachtchi. That's the game we didn't really follow too much. So let's have a look at quickly.
Maybe just the last part, yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Right, so this was the position. White was slightly pressing. Kramnik was in time trouble. h4, h5 is a threat. B takes on c3, h6, rook takes on d4, with d5. Here Kramnik had to play rook g4 to protect the pawn on g7. Instead he played g6 and apparently instantly resigned. And why? Because h7 check is a very, very common trick. King h7, rook h3, rook h8 is checkmate on the board, and after queen takes on h7, I guess queen f6 was missed by the former world champion, and rook takes on g6 is unstoppable. Why? Because rook g4 leaves the rook on d8 undefended.
Oof. Beautiful, beautiful. Arthur's another blunder. You can just take a last glance at the game of Wesley So and Gelfand. In that game, Wesley won the game with thanks to the blunder that Gelfand just did last move.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I have nothing even more to say. So it's about material balance on the board, 3 versus 3. Knight c6 is a threat. So what was the last move? 95. Okay. I mean, these are the things which happen in time scramble. But, yeah, quite unfortunate for Boris. And maybe this is the spark of the hope that Wesley So was hoping for, because he started the tournament getting with 4 losses in a row. And today he has scored so far 2 points out of 3.
2 draws and 1 victory. Now let's take a look at the standings. Levon Aronian is still a leader after even losing the game right now. But Vishy Anand, Jan Nepomniachtchi, Peter Svidler are very close, just a half a point behind. And there are more players coming up. Daniel Dubov just had a great game and he had a victory. You guys, we're gonna have one more game now, and we're gonna take a break, but please don't go anywhere, because if you go, you're gonna miss all the crazy actions that is happening at the Levitov Chess Week 2023.
See you soon.
Welcome back at the last game of today's Levitov Chess Week 2023. The tournament is happening in Amsterdam. It is rainy there, which is a perfect weather for the chess tournament. It's beautiful inside, it's cozy, but it is very, very hot there because first of all there are a lot of top chess players and the average of the rating creates really hit tension in the venue, but also we have seen Arthur's a lot of amazing games so far.
Yeah, even so amazing games, Katie, that we are disputing which is the better game, right? I mean, I was going for the game of Svidler against Mamedyarov, and you insist that it's Dubov. I mean, let the viewers decide, but you're right. It doesn't disappoint us.
Well, it did not really, and Levon is someone that we have on top of the list for a long time, but the second, third places are changing, and now we have Vishy Anand, Janne Pomnichny and Peter Svidler together with Daniel Dubov doing amazing. Let's now get into the playing venue right away. Who is the first player who walks in the at the boards? We're gonna check it out. Last game, they must feel a bit tired, Arthurs.
Yeah, maybe indeed, because this is the 9th game in 2 days. So today there's only 4 games. And speaking about the schedule, tomorrow they have a rest day. I believe that instead of resting, they're going to have some social activities, some excursions, meeting with people, etc. So it's not only a tournament of 10 invited Super Grandmasters, it's also a festival just to spend some good time with good people, great atmosphere. The first player to walk in the playing hall is Boris Gelfand. There you go. Mm-hmm. Now, who's going to be the last one?
Right. Levon is my bet.
Or
Grishuk.
My money usually is on one of the smokers, right? Somebody who has the smoking pause and he's very quickly finishing his last cigarette and then running to the tournament. And I would say it's Grishuk actually, but I guess we are going to see.
Grishuk is famous for being late. There are like tons of videos on YouTube. Once when he got in the playing venue and sat down at the wrong table and he started to play, and at some point he realized that was not his opponent. So he creates a lot of funny content for chess fans. Boris Gelfand not having an easy day today. He's very deep in his thoughts. He just blundered the rook in the previous game against Vasily, he cannot wait to start another round.
Yeah, and this game, Katie, it bears some significant historic moment here because Gelfand and Anand. Gelfand is the former World Championship challenger against Vishy Anand back in 2012, right? I mean, you might remember, dear viewers, there was this very, very exciting, very close match. Quite unexpectedly, actually, because Anand was expected to be a greater favorite. Still, the match finished with 6-6, a tie after 12 classical games. And then it was Anand who was slightly better in a tiebreak and managed to win the championship. But Gelfand almost became the world champion back then.
Yeah, that's the history, of course, of chess. And in his book Vishy Anand, he writes down a lot of details about this match, and that's the book that I want very much to read out because as I know, he gives a lot of inside information, Arthurs. When you play World Championship match, it's not only chess, it's a lot of psychology, it's a lot of people. Sometimes it's even countries playing against the countries. We had that situation too in the chess history. And it is just good to know what is behind these very nice and smiley faces when they are coming together years later and they have to face each other again. I'm sure a lot of memories just came up right now on this board.
Yeah, indeed. Of course, the World Championship match is a great event in every chess player's career, right? So despite the fact they're all rivals, they're, of course, have a very good relationship. And now, 11 years later, they're once again meeting at the board to find out who still has got the edge. I mean, it's going to be interesting. Katie, I have a question to you. What do you think? What kind of opening it's going to be?
Oh, that's. I thought you were asking me when they played last time, and I was on my mission to check
No, 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 no.
it. This is. Galfand. I have. I would think something like close Sicilian
Close to
sort of
Sicilian, I
positions.
would say something like Queen's Gambit declined, etc. But I guess anything is possible because we are already seeing, according to the games are played so far, players have come here with some preparation, and most notably Levon Aronian, who has switched to playing Sicilian Tamanov and Naidorf being an E4 E5 player. We still might see some surprises here. I would go for D4, D5, something like that, but we're gonna see.
It's so tough to guess because these players they have their main lines like in one E1, one E4, one D4. They can also play knight F3. Like C4 also can be their main lines. It's just up to their choice what they want to play, and that makes our job very difficult to guess.
Indeed, and now you see all the players have arrived there. In the background, we see Petla Svidler greeting against Levon Aronian. But the game of Boris Gelfand against Vishy Anand has started. D4, C4 is on the board.
D4.
Catalan, I
and
called
C4.
it. I called it.
Very
I mean,
close.
Catalan is, of course, a Cadillac of chess, right? I mean, a very, very famous opening which has been around forever and it's contested at the highest levels all the time. It's an opening, evergreen opening, which always is uh, uh,
It never goes out of the
contested.
fashion.
But B6, just a second, Kitty, B6. This is book options line, is it not?
I know it's not so good, is it true? Like because you just allow White's bishop to be wide open and wild there on this file?
I think this line bears the name of Ivan Bukovshin, a player, a very talented player from Russia who I think he tragically passed away some years ago. But the idea here is to position the bishop on b7 as quickly as possible. And if my memory is not completely wrong, the strongest move here is bishop g5, not knight g5. And bishop g5 indeed is played. But now I try to remember what was the issue of... I'm sorry, not knight g5. It was knight e5 or knight g5. I don't remember. Just a second. What was it? Knight e5, queen d4. Now I remember. Knight e5, queen d4. This was the idea. And after bishop a8, queen d5, black has sacrificed an exchange for 2 pawns, because if you take on c4, there's bishop a6. So this was a brand new idea, something like 5-6 years ago. But of course, theory has moved on already.
Yeah. So whatever has been played, everyone knows in a second and plays the next day. We had such a situations too in the chess tournaments. That's very interesting decision from Vishy Anand to play this opening. What do you think? Why he decided to go to this line?
I guess that white is gonna grab the pawn on c4 at some point. Something like knight c4 or queen c4. Black normally is thinking about pushing c5, maybe knight e7, c5, and then we probably will get some typical Catalan position where white is not rushing with e4, instead plays something like knight e5, and even if black pushes c5 and gets a symmetrical pawn structure, it's not so simple really. I mean, I really like Catalan positions, so it's not a surprise we're seeing it between two chess legends here.
Yeah. It has been always played Catalan for years and years. Arthurs, I just checked the games between these two players. They have played 105 games, and they have played way before that I was born their first game. And in the rapid chess control, which we have this tournament in rapids, Vishy Anand is heavily favored. They have made a lot of draws, 71 draws, you can imagine. But then Anand has won 26 games, and Boris Gelfand has won 8 games, according to the online database.
And most importantly, Anand has the one world championship. Right, so when it really mattered, Anand was slightly stronger. For Gelfand, it was an excellent chance to win the championship, but that is what it is. All right, what do we have here? It looks quite peaceful-ish, to be honest. I think that black is going to play c5 when it's the right time, something like rook c8, c5. I would like to switch to another game if we could, because this is looking quite peaceful, and maybe we can find a game which is looking more dynamic.
Yeah, I'm looking right now at the games, and I think the dynamic game is Mamedyarov Dubov in this round.
All right. This was the symmetrical Slav, so it appears. All the pieces are on the board, only a couple of pawns have been traded. Black appears to be quite active, and again, Dubov shows his magic that he is so good in preparation. The knight on a b4 clearly is a better piece than the white knight on a3. The knight on a3 protects the c2 square against any bishop c2 or knight c2 ideas. There was just a trade on e4.
Yeah, is there a chance? Oh, it goes d5 here with white pieces. I was thinking of something like h3, g4 sort of ideas to annoy this bishop on the light squares, but he decides to play d5, perhaps to play d6 next and to open up the files and the diagonals on the board. Black's queen might be misplaced on d8.
I mean, visually, Kerry, I don't like this move really, because it opens up the bishop on g7. Now it's a stronger piece, but I think I get the idea. I think white wants to play d6. For example, I'm going to make some random moves, something like h6, whatever. So I want to play d6, put the bishop on d6, attack the rook at f8, and attack the bishop on with the bishop, the knight on b4, which would give me an extra pawn. But the thing is, I don't think that black really has to waste the time on something like h6. And instead
Did he just played a3, e3? I think he just pushed the pawn e3.
Oh.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
So, hold on. If bishop b2, I suppose.
Right, queen e3 is not a move. So what about bishop takes on e3?
Then
knight c2. This must be the move. So you cannot take it. Bishop c2, you lose the exchange. Unless you want to sacrifice for a couple of pawns. Okay, could be. But if you don't do that, the rook on a1 is under attack. You play something like rook c1. You take on e3. And look at that, Getty. You still cannot take on e3 because bishop takes on b2 is such a senior threat. And after f takes on e3, the bishop on g7, the bishop on f5. I think this is a great compensation for black. I love this idea.
Interesting. Bishop e3 has happened, and Dubov is now looking for some variation. I like how he just first pushed the pawn and now he's taking his time. He is a player who has sense of the momentum. Look at his face, actually. He's like, okay.
Knight c2 is on the board. Yeah, this, of course, makes sense with the way he played it. Rook c1 is a move. Also, maybe Mamedyarov is not going to allow the bishop on e3 to be eliminated, so perhaps he's going to opt for the exchange sacrifice, something like knight c2, bishop c2, queen b7, bishop d1, rook d1, and now it really matters how do you evaluate this position, because there's still rook b8, the pawn on b2 is under attack. I'm not entirely sure, because this line is slightly longer, it doesn't even finish here. Rook takes on b2, bishop c5, attack the pawn on e7, I could go on and on. It's definitely something I would consider if I was Mamedyarov right here.
Yeah, seems very nice position here with these two bishops and the potentially to get one more pawn. And if black drops the pawn, either e7 or e5, that's going to be a very difficult position to hold.
Because I think that these players, they value above all the initiative than piece activity. And playing something like rook c1, knight e3, f takes on e3, give away the powerful dark square bishop and allow black to control all the dark squares in the center. Think about h5, h4, start a potential king's attack at some point later. I think that Mamedyarov simply might not like this prospect and just sacrifice the exchange out of simply necessity to keep the dark square bishop alive.
Very interesting idea. I love this h pawn push and create some sort of weaknesses on the king side. Knight to c2 is on the board and Shah is taking his time to make his next move. What he cannot do is to capture the knight on c2, because after bishop c2, Well, this position, I'm not sure, Arthurs. We were talking about that, but it's so difficult to make decision, right? To give up the exchange where you have an extra pawn. You have
I'm
to
not
be certain about
I'm
that
not sure what
decision
I
to
would
give
have
up
done,
the.
but Kerry, I have an update. It seems that the game of Boris Gelfand against Vishy Anand in the background has finished into a draw.
Okay, that's quite. That's the result that we could guess, that these two players would end the game in a draw. They didn't really went too sharp in the lines, and this is the last game of today. Tomorrow they have a break, and the last 2 days will be decisive at this tournament.
I'm not sure what Mamedyarov is gonna do. I think he wants to sacrifice the exchange, but maybe he is gonna make the pragmatic choice and still play Rook C1. So as you can see also by the body language of Dubov, he has already made up his mind, because usually you want to spend this time while your opponent is thinking. You're not staring at a ceiling, you're not waiting for something to happen, you already made up your mind what you're going to do. So after Rook C1, Dubov already knows what he's going to do. He's going to take on E3, and he already has figured out the next move. If Mamedyarov is going to play Knight X on C2, Bishop C2, Queen B7, Dubov already has made up the mind in that variation as well. This is how they work.
Yeah, somehow I can't believe that Shaq would be comfortable to go to that position without exchange. Um,
A big choice here, really. You know, I'm not sure he really likes his odds. Okay, I had a feeling. I had a feeling that he's going to sacrifice the exchange. Knight X on C2, Queen B7, this is played. I think he simply valued the activity above all. So Engine Bar slightly doesn't like it. It says it's not really great. Okay, I think here Dubov is going to fire out his next moves pretty quickly. Rook B8. Oh, maybe he starts with Rook B8 immediately.
Instead of taking on D1, because this bishop also controls more squares.
Right, because he
and
can
he's
play
quite
Rook B8
active.
and take on B2 first. Maybe
Yeah,
that's
with
an
a bishop.
opportunity. Maybe don't run anywhere with bishop takes on D1.
Yeah, that's right. Dubov is taking now his time. He has 2 moves to be played here, either to chase the queen or to take the rook from D on D1. And he seems not to be in rush at all to make his next move.
Now, this indeed only proves that Dubov had probably decided to do something. Now he's double checking. Bishop d1 or rook b8. Okay, he decides to play bishop takes on d1, rook d1, and instead of rook b8, he plays queen d6. Okay,
That's a bit
now
of a mysterious move.
That is
okay.
surprising, really.
He sort of wants to trap the queen on the
On b7,
on that part of the board. Yeah, rook b8 now seems to be even stronger. However, there's also queen to c6.
I'm not really sure, because I had a feeling, Kerry, it's not really dropping the queen, because if I may, I'm going to go back here after b3. If you play rook b8, I have queen c6.
And now rook to c8.
Oh, you want me to force the trade on d6?
Yes, so I stop this pawn, and the pawn on b3 goes not too far. And I can take it later.
Maybe it doesn't matter, because bishop f3 is on the board. Mamedyarov already had expected this move, so he also has to play a bit faster because he's below 4 minutes. Again, dear viewers, the time control is 10 minutes plus 5 seconds. And at some point you have to play a bit faster. Queen a7, Mamedyarov targets the pawn on a5.
All right, if you take the pawn on b2, white will take the pawn on a5, and that's very nice counterattack on the queen side with this pawn.
Right, and also white is threatening with bishop c5. No, queen b7. Okay, go back. Rook a8, queen b7. Are we gonna see a repetition? Let's see. I mean, this is basically a draw for rook b8. Do you want to draw? Let's do a draw.
Okay.
I'm happy with a draw.
I think draw is makes a lot of sense, because like, if you want to win, then you have to risk in both sides. Yeah, they are repeating.
Yeah, so this means probably that both players feel that continuing this game is slightly too dangerous. The bar wholeheartedly agrees. The position is balanced. Also, Dubov suspects that despite the fact that he's such a creative player, he would love to continue. He just can't do it. He repeats the position once again, rook a8. And now Mamedyarov is thinking, accept a draw, go home, or still fight on. What should I do? What should I do? Because, I mean, look at his clock. He has 3.5 minutes. Yes, he repeats the position, and that's a draw.
Yeah, that's a draw. Is
All
he
right.
asking about queen d6 move? I think he was asking about queen d6 move, the idea of queen d6 probably. Yeah, that's always very interesting to hear what they are talking after the game.
Yeah. All right. Which game? Which game are we going to choose next? I see Kramnik versus Wesley is looking quite dry. Maybe let's not go there. Either Ronin against Svidler or Grish against Nepomniachtchi. Get it, it's your call.
Grishchuk against Nepomniachtchi looks very, very interesting game because white pieces are like on the white side only and somehow squeezed, and black pieces look very active. Maybe we need to dive a little bit more in this one.
All right. I really like Black's position, at least the rook on d3, because if he managed to play something like c4, strengthen the rook on d3, and bring the bishop on the long diagonal, those two bishops look really scary. And that's why it's only understandable that Grishuk tries to conduct a kingside attack and play e4 and open up the kingside. Queen h6 targets the pawn on f4. Black is going for a counter-strike. E takes on f5, bishop f4. There's all kinds of hostilities here possible.
Yeah, and if you play e5 here and blockade the dark square bishop, then a light square bishop can find some nice, beautiful squares on d5 or on c6, anywhere on this diagonal, and can get into the game. So Grishchuk here down to 1 minute and 40 seconds. Again, he has some issues.
I think it's a bit easier normally to play this position from the white's perspective because, okay, I mean, he has less time on the clock and black's bishops are menacing, but it's always easier to attack the king. I think all of you are going to agree. I mean, white's plan is really simple. I think he wants to play rook e1 just in case he protected pawn on f4, and he's just pushing forward everything at the king side. While the bishop on b3, it's really nice. It's stopping the rook on b1.
You know what I like here? Something like a6 or a5, rook, bishop a7, and then c4 to hit the dark squares on this diagonal. And you might have some unpleasant situations as queen is already on the h-file. If you move the king away on h-file, there will be some sort of like sacrifices on g3 as well. And king h8,
right,
g8, yeah.
But that probably means that black has to sacrifice something, because I don't think he has the time to do all of these things. If he takes on e4, knight e4 attacks the knight on c5, the knight on d3, bishop on b3, they're forked. So if you want to do that, I guess you need to sacrifice. Can I do it like this? a5, take on f5, and something like bishop a7. And after king h1, play
like
c4,
that.
king h8, rook g8. Maybe this is how black has to play.
Yeah, I like this. And queen now is hanging where the queen really goes on e1 to guard the knight on g3. Otherwise, you lose the knight.
That's nicely spotted because the knight on g3 now is pinned.
Yeah, rook e3, I guess, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, big
I think
decision
we just
here.
won with black.
Big decision here for Svidler indeed. For Nepomniachtchi indeed, right? So something like f takes on e4, it's not an automatic decision for Nepomniachtchi. I think he's calculating really deep here. It's not just about the next move, it's about the next series of moves.
Yeah,
Bishop c7, okay, he found another way.
Bishop b6 is another way to get this bishop active and to push. Maybe it's even better, so this bishop will be guarded by the pawn and don't need to push the pawn forward.
I think it's even better, you're right, because the bishop on b6 is protected. Now there's no queen c5 ideas. Essentially, it's more or less the same. So e takes on f5, I think white has to accept. I mean, what else? If you don't accept the pawn, what you're doing here?
Yeah, Grishchuk has to make his decision. No time, that much time on the clock. And now the threat is bishop b6 and c4, as we mentioned. And white is missing dark square bishop in the position. Now we can feel that the dark square bishop is missing.
Yeah, you would love to position ducks with bishop on e3, Ketty, right? I mean, not this knight on g3. I mean, position the bishop on e3 to control all the dark squares surrounding your king. But it's gone. You can't do that.
Yeah.
And Grishik is dropping below 50 seconds. He needs to make a move. The position is really fast exploding. 40 seconds. Still no move.
He has to make a decision. He has to maybe king h1 because you have to play this move anyway. Oh no, he's not happy.
I think he's going to take the pawn on f5. I mean, what else? What else, really? I mean, what do you do here? Just make a move
But
already.
Arthur's, I love this idea so much, bishop c7. There's also bishop to d8, bishop h4 sort of ideas to pin this knight. If king goes on h1, then it can be serious choice on g3.
10 seconds. I mean, come on.
10
you gotta make a
seconds.
move. So he takes on f5. Finally, you can see he's not happy. And the Pomrashi is not even at the table. He is gone.
Seriously? He's gone? Where is he?
He's not even at the table. He is gone. He is looking at something more interesting.
I think it was another incident with the coffee or tea or something that spelled on the first day on the board.
Really?
Where is he really? This gives a lot of time to Grishik to think through.
I'm not sure, is it? Right, we are referring to the first game when Peter Svidler spilled some water over the table, but that happened so quickly. I mean, we just got the word and the table already was cleaned. I'm not really sure. No. Nepomniachtchi is back. He just took some refreshments. He's ready to make the move.
Okay. That's not happening in the rapid tournaments. That players are just leaving the board. Rook to d8. And look at the look. Like he gave a look to his opponent. Knight
I
d4.
think he just fired out the move very quickly to apply more pressure to Grishuk. That was expected. Knight e4, c4. Grishuk is feeling the heat. Queen a7. He grabs the pawn, which also deals with the bishop b6 check. And it's a blunder, apparently.
It's a blunder.
Where is the blunder?
What's the blunder?
What did I miss? I don't see very quickly. What did I miss? Is there some tactics? E takes on f5, queen takes on c7, take on e4. Where's the tactics? I don't see it very quickly.
The tactic is bishop f4, Arthurs. You're attacking the rook, and bishop e3 is the move.
Indeed. All right. It seems that he simply forgot about the pawn on f4.
I think now he sees that. Bishop f4 is on the board. Knight
f6 check, queen f6, rook f4 allows white to collect the bishop at f4. I guess the king is going to walk away unless there's going to be a follow-up after queen f6. Nepomniachtchi is looking really good with 4 minutes on the clock and calculate all the hostilities. King h8 looks tempting, queen f6 looks tempting. Just a second. Again, we have to calculate this very quickly. Queen f6, rook f4. Is there something? There's queen takes on b2. We can try.
But why don't we just move the king away? King to h8. Is not that possible?
It's another opportunity. I'm not really sure.
He just made it. King to h8.
All right. King h8 and instantly responded by Grishuk. Of course, he has to play because he has only 10 seconds. Knight g4 attacks the queen. I think queen g5.
Queen g5 makes a lot of sense to attack the knight, keep the queen on the diagonal, and the rook on c1 is still hanging.
Where do you go? Bishop e3 check is something that white cannot miss. Queen f7, Grishuk sacrifices a piece. Queen takes on g4. I think it's safe to assume that black is simply gonna collect this. Wait a second, how do you deal with queen f6 check?
Queen g7.
Queen g7, I trade and I take on f4. You cannot do that. How do you play here?
I think bishop c1 is another choice here. Bishop c1.
Oh. Yeah, by the way, the rook on c1 is under attack. But I mean, you gotta calculate things very precisely because the black king is also pretty weak.
Wait, what they did? They played so fast.
Bishop takes on c1 is on the board. F takes on e6. Grishuk goes all in. So he hopes for a desperate counterattack, which is e7, e8 check. Maybe a mate along the way. Nepomniachtchi has an extra rook, but all that matters is black's desperate counterattack. That's a great move, stopping e7 and pinning the pawn on e6. Cold move.
Oof, love it, c3. You cannot see this in any of the calculation move like this with white.
Knight f5, so Grishuk is getting more pieces to a final desperate attack. The question is there a mate I'm not sure, but I think the threat is knight f6 and something. Rook d1 makes sense, of course. Try to kill off one of white's attacking pieces. h4.
h4 attacking the queen.
If the queen
Rook
goes away
f1,
from
king
f6,
f1, and queen to f4 is a check. There, rook comes with a check on d1 next move. This might be game over.
probably.
And we have a handshake.
You're right. You're right. Great victory by Nepomniachtchi.
Oof, what a game. What a game. And Jan Nepomniachtchi has collected so much points, by the way, today. He is just, collecting all the points. Let's see how the day will end for him in the end, the standings. But before that, we have still some games in progress. And let's take a look at the next one, Arthurs. And Wesley saw Kramnik is on the camera. We have an Aronian against Svidler. Aronian is losing again?
Yeah, this is the game I already selected. I think it makes sense to follow because Aronian is the leader. Actually, it's a leader fight, right? So the leaders are playing against each other. Aronian with the white color and is simply... they're already finished. What I'm talking about, they're already finished.
Yes, and Svidler won the game because we can see... Oh, can we get the closer? Is it king on e5? Yeah, Svidler won the game because the king is on e5.
And it's only one game ongoing, which is Vladimir Kramnik against Wesley. So Wesley has a much better day than yesterday. I mean, yesterday, dear viewers, he started in 4 losses. Today, he's bouncing back with 2 draws in the first 2 rounds. Then he forked the very unfortunate Gelfand and won the game. And right now, once again, what do we have here? It appears that Kramnik is the one.
Yeah, that's right. So... yeah, white has an extra pawn, and the other pawn is also hanging on d6. However, black is also a mission to take the pawns on the queen side and then to push the pawn forward. Rook e4, I love this move, to guard the pawn on h4.
Right, and it also, what does it do? I guess he wants to position the rook on a b4. That's the common truth that you normally get. No, I thought he wants to play rook b4 because the common knowledge in the rook endgame sketch is you want to position the rooks behind the passed pawns.
Yeah.
This was not the case. All right, now what do you do?
You can bring king f4, king g3 to guard the pawn on h4 and then go for a g6 pawn.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, king f4, king g5 right away.
By the way, a minor little detail, Kettle, is that white still has an extra pawn. So it should be pretty important. Although it's not doing much on b3, it's still there. King f4, king g3, it makes perfect sense. I think we can expect these moves. No, rook h6 first.
d5 we have on the board. King f4, king g3 can be the one idea, but this allows black to also activate the d pawn. So he goes with...
and the table base immediately kicks in. So what does it say? What does it say? I mean, okay. It just says this is a position that has been calculated. We already had a table-based discussion, I think, in the previous round. B4, still decent chances for Kramnik to win the game. So he has 2 passed pawns. I'm gonna lie if I'm gonna say that I know how this game is objectively evaluated. I would say it's probably closer to a draw.
Yeah, and he made the move at the last second, Arthur's. Really last seconds, like at 5 or 6 seconds, Wesley saw.
King D... Oh, wait, okay. The rook is under attack, rook G5, rook B6, not really sure. So I guess Kramnik wants to eliminate these pawns and march with the king on c5 as quickly as possible. The strength is in the pawn on b4, so king d4 here. King d4, rook e4, king c5, rook c4. Okay, no. King d2 instead.
Right, rook e4 now makes a lot of sense to attack the both pawns.
Rook b1, and now the table base says white is just winning just like that. King e4, where's the move? Rook b5.
But king will be cut it very far, like after king takes f4, king to c2.
The reason why Wesley So didn't take the pawn on f4 because cutting off the king in rook endgames when the opponent has the passed pawn is one of the most dangerous things which can happen. Now f5 marks a mistake again, looks very human to me.
But Arthur's, why not rook to c5s at some point? Okay, he's going for that.
I'm not sure. I mean, all I see
Wait,
the bar is
f6
changing.
now. F6, rook f6 and king to b2, and you are get sneaking with the king on the queen side and you are pushing the pawn. The king is cutted.
Yeah, now king d4. Again, I think this was a big mistake by Kramnik. He just missed it. He executed it with just a couple of seconds on the clock.
Oh, wow.
Oh, and he can't protect the pawn on f5. Now you see the horror in Kramnik's face. What just happened here? Oh my goodness.
Well, he wants to push b6, and after rook to b5, there's rook to b2, and he's hoping to win that endgame.
Still not very obvious. Rook b5, rook b2, rook c5, rook c8, rook b8. I think this is going to be a draw.
Yeah, white king went too far.
I mean, come on, this is... It's easy,
Rook
of course,
c8,
to
rook
criticize.
b8, and then bring the king closer
Yeah,
to
it's easy
pawn.
to criticize the players, but when you're playing an increment of only 5 seconds, you have to do incredible amounts of calculation.
He has to make a move, otherwise he will lose. Almost lost the game here with white pieces, Kramnik. Wow.
Yeah, rook a8, king c5. This is going to be a draw. That's it. So whatever chances Kramnik had, they're gone. Now he already knows the pawn on b6 falls, and Wesley so makes another draw.
Yeah, if it's a
BF4.
title toaster, we might see this game playing 50 more moves, but they will just agree on a draw.
A disappointing finish for Kramnik. I think he was expecting from this day more. Yeah, you can see the smiles. I mean, how did I do this?
Ended. Wow, what a beautiful end of the day. We had really amazing games today. We couldn't ask for more, Arthurs. We had really, really amazing round. We had also a little bit like slow pace at some point. Let's now take a look at the overall standings. We might have a new leader.
Actually, 2 new
And-
leaders, because it's Nepomniachtchi and Svidler who lead the tournament now with 6 points out of 9.
Wow, amazing. Jan and Pomnish being in a very, very good shape today. Together with Peter Svidler, they are sharing first and second places. Levon Aronian had 2 losses out of 4 games. That was really tough day for him. A lot of pressure on Levon. Vishy Anand plays very stable today as well. And we have also Vasilisa managing to clinch a little bit and join the rest of the people. And he's not on the bottom anymore. Arthur's final thoughts about this round.
I already want to make some predictions, actually. I mean, the round didn't disappoint, Kitty. We are seeing high-level action. We're seeing dramatic moments in Time Scramble, exactly what the viewers are craving for. But I have a feeling that it's going to be a fight for the first place between Peter Svidler and Jan Nepomniachtchi. Because Nepomniachtchi today gained quite a lot of points, right? Because he was trailing behind the leaders after day 1. He has found his momentum. He is ready to defend his title that he won back in 2019. And also Svidler. I mean, he's playing great chess, right? I mean, every single round we're watching Svidler play, plays a masterpiece. And this game he played against Mamedyarov, I mean, that was a masterpiece from both players. It's just fun to watch.
It is indeed fun to watch. If we have some predictions, I am very much biased whenever Vishy Anand plays. I cannot name any other player but Vishy, because I love to see Vishy playing at his great shape, and in this tournament we can say that he's in a great shape. We have seen some of the amazing chess from him, but that's all will come in the end after 2 more days. We still have a lot of rounds ahead of us, Arthurs. It is worth to mention that tomorrow the players have the day off. We talked about this, but for those who just joined, you guys, tomorrow there will be no broadcast, no tournament. It's gonna be day off for us, but for players they have some side activities, and we're coming back at day 4. That's gonna be 25th of September at 2 p.m. Central European time, and we're gonna have 5 games as the first day, and then final day will be on the 26th of September, and there will be only one winner of this tournament. Arthurs, Jan Nepomniachtchi is trying to win this tournament 2nd time in a row.
Yeah, indeed. I think he has good chances now that he is back in the lead, in the shared lead, together with Peter Svidler. I think that after the first 2 days, we can already have a pretty good idea who is in a good shape, who is not in a good shape. So clearly, Nepomniachtchi, Svidler, Anand, Naroni, and I think these four players that are going to be battling for the first place. It's of course still too early to tell because there's 9 more rounds to be played, and Kramnik and Wesley, so I mean perhaps are slightly not in the best shape. Also, Boris Gelfand has been struggling in time scramble, but again, this is the highest level chess, and for somebody has to win it, and somebody has to finish in the last place. That's how it goes.
That's right. That's right. Thank you very much, Artur, to be amazing co-host, and thank you everyone for watching. Please come back the day after tomorrow, and we're gonna have more actions at Levitov Chess Week 2023. Bye bye.
Bye bye. bye.